Our story kicks off with a pro gaming legend at a major championship. He is a massive star in the industry. And today was finally the big day to secure his third world title. There he is getting totally hyped for the match of a lifetime. Suddenly he finds himself facing an army of massive, scary-looking dudes who are staring him down like some weird curiosity. Two of these massive warriors notice him and start roasting the poor guy right away. One scoffs, saying his name sounds totally bizarre. The other starts mocking his clothes and small size, calling him a total shrimp. But then things take a wild turn. One warrior suddenly realizes the guy nearby is the same person who actually killed him. His buddy stares back like he is seeing a ghost, barely believing his own eyes. As they trade intense death stares, Taigo thinks, oh great, I am about to watch a literal murder. Their eyes glow like an epic anime showdown is coming, but they just burst into laughter instead. The fallen warrior grins, calling the other his eternal rival and reason for being here. The other responds, admitting that their final battle was absolutely legendary. Then Old Baldy asks if he died shortly after that fight. He describes how a kid with 5 braids ambushed him, shouting "Dad," while stabbing him in the gut. The man just laughs, saying that kid is definitely going to be a powerhouse one day. The father beams with pride, insisting the boy is already strong. Meanwhile, Taigo stands there feeling completely out of place in this testosterone-filled reunion. That is when the story hits us with a quick flashback. Taigo was in the middle of a tournament, just one match away from a world championship. Everything was going great until his face suddenly met the keyboard. Now he wonders, did I actually kick the bucket, or is this just a crazy fever dream? Suddenly a guy points at him and announces he is a champion of 1,000 duels. All the warriors turn to judge his skinny frame, thinking the same thing. How could this little twig possibly be the king of anything? Half these guys are already itching to test him and see what he is made of. Poor Taigo is totally lost and probably wishing he had just stayed dead. He blames this mystery girl for dragging him into this chaotic mess. He vividly remembers the exact moment his face hit that keyboard. A strange light flashed, and that is when the mysterious girl appeared. She starts explaining how those who fall in glorious battle carry the soul of a true warrior. Taigo blinks, asking if that means he has actually passed away. Instead of giving him a straight answer, she simply tells him to follow her. He asks if she is leading him to hell, a pretty fair question, honestly, but before he can even think about backing out, she grabs his hand and they go zooming through a light tunnel destination, Valhalla. Back in the present, Taigo is trying to make sense of this insanity. Valhalla is the legendary Norse hall where only the most elite warriors reside. He figures the girl made a huge mistake thinking he is a warrior just for being a gamer. The way she acts so innocent and certain makes the mix-up pretty obvious. Taigo tries to explain that she has definitely got the wrong guy. He is just a professional gamer, but she asks if games is just another word for duels. At this point, you can practically hear his brain short-circuiting. He lets out a totally defeated sigh and begs her to just take him home. Suddenly, before things settle, a massive horn blast rocks the whole area. Our heroine screams that the invaders have arrived. It is time to gear up. Every soldier's eyes ignite with fire. In a heartbeat, they are primed for combat. Meanwhile, poor Taiho is in a state of total panic. He is positive he will manage to die twice in 24 hours. The monsters appear, and the warriors lunge forward without a second thought like absolute wild men. They collide with the beasts in a chaotic brawl, unlike anything you have witnessed. Back on the sidelines, Taiho is trembling like a leaf in a hurricane. He grips a blade he barely understands. He wonders, if I already bit it once, what happens now? Do I become double dead? Sadly, fate is not giving him time to overthink. Suddenly, a massive beast locks its sights right on him. It lunges with terrifying speed, leaving our poor guy completely frozen in fear. Right before the beast delivers a fatal blow, a hero slides in screaming for him to stay low. This warrior triggers a hardcore skill called Deep Rage, which sounds incredibly intense. He deletes the monster in a single strike while Taiho cowers, covering his ears. The fighter looks back and asks if he understands the concept of a saga. Naturally, Taiho is completely lost and has no idea what is going on. The man chuckles, beginning to explain the cosmic rules to our baffled gamer friend. He claims being here in Valhalla proves Taiho achieved something legendary back on Earth. Essentially, your past life achievements transform into your literal combat strength here. Great deeds equal great power. But Taiho just stares, thinking, wait, what deeds are we talking about? All I did was eat snacks and crush beginners in online video games. Then a memory sparks. Cal, the undying hero from his favorite RPG title. That character had a crazy list of victories that would make even a god jealous. While Taiho dwells on his avatar, a strange mystical glow begins to surround him. He wonders to himself, is that a system screen? The soldier points excitedly, shouting that Taiho has unlocked his very own saga. Looking ahead, Taiho spots shimmering text drifting in the air like divine subtitles. He squints hard, noticing the words, but failing to read the fine print clearly. Our boy is still totally lost. He barely deciphers a few phrases. Saga of the Undying Hero. Current power 1%. Taiho walks away, head spinning wildly. That must be Cal's strength. Suddenly his eyes sparkle with that classic gamer ambition. If I can tap into that potential, I will be the strongest player here. Then the veteran shouts for him to look up. Taiho follows his gaze, confused. There he sees a monstrous, terrifying titan wielding a hammer much larger than himself. The beast attacks now. Taiho attempts a cool dodge, but ends up tripping over his own clumsy feet. He fumbles his blade like a total noob, scrambles up and thinks, no way. This legendary power cannot be this weak. As the beast prepares to strike, Taiho looks at those floating letters one more time. There it is. That tiny 1% looks like the hidden fine print in a mobile game. He yells, why is the font so small? Is this some cosmic joke? Can the font be bigger? Before departing, the hero finally introduces himself. He reveals his name is Jor and tells Taiho to survive until their next meeting. With that giant hunk of muscle gone, Taiho gulps nervously. He stares at the massive beast, glancing at his abandoned swords nearby. He feels totally helpless, but hey, a 1% chance isn't zero. It definitely beats nothing time to see if this gamble pays off. He lunges for his blade, remembering how Khalid could crush entire armies. Even a tiny drop of that legendary power should keep him breathing. He grips the hilt with both hands, ready to face his nightmare. As the monster swings its massive hammer, something inside Taiho finally clicks. Suddenly he is moving at light speed, way faster than ever before. He slides right under the beast just in time, rolling like a pro. Past memories flash by as he hears a ghostly crowd cheering his name. Deep down, Khalid's fiery image flickers to life, igniting a hidden spark. That is when his saga truly awakens. Honestly, it feels like being supercharged. His reality shifts as wild electric energy surges through his entire body. In a flash of lightning, he zips across the battlefield with insane speed. He decapitates the beast in one smooth motion. Talk about a power-up. Then he immediately reverts to his clumsy self, landing right on his backside. He just sits there in the dirt, wondering what just happened. Is this the saga Bjorn mentioned? Our hero stands up feeling much bolder. With this new power, he is pretty sure he is actually going to survive. Cut to the Great Hall where the warriors have gathered to relax. A massive celebration is underway with a feast and tons of laughter. Everyone is having a blast. Even those two former rivals are joking around. They are sitting together like old pals. One brags about surviving the chaos. The other just smirks, calling it a warm-up. Meanwhile, Taiho hates the food. Bjorn laughs, saying, better food only comes with a higher warrior rank. This is the rookie hall, low ranks, get the basic no-frills meal plan. Taiho asks if Bjorn is a rookie too. Bjorn just chuckles, mysteriously. He is just there for a checkup. Taiho sighs, giving a heartfelt thanks. Without you, Taiho admits, I would be totally toast right now, thank you. Bjorn gives a half smile, telling our boy to relax and stay alive. Just try not to die next time, he adds. But Taiho gets curious. What actually happens if I kick the bucket? Taiho asks. Bjorn laughs. He explains that fallen souls are simply transferred into the Iron Warriors. Once you are a Steel Warrior, you feel zero pain and zero hunger. You get to fight forever. Does not that sound like a dream? Taiho freezes. To him, that sounds like a literal living nightmare. Being an Iron Warrior sounds way more like a permanent steel coffin. He gulps, thinking, yeah, I am definitely not dying today. Then Bjorn shifts. He mentions that everyone is about to get their official team assignments. Every warrior gets sorted into a legion, Bjorn explains. It is happening now. Just then, a strongly built blonde girl in heavy armor marches inside. She stands tall, announcing she has seen their skills and will assign legions. Is she a Valkyrie? Taiho whispers, staring at the impressive warrior. Bjorn nods. That is Regenlife, daughter of Odin himself. Better look sharp. Hagen raises her blade with flair, telling everyone to peer into their cups. She announces the name within is their destined leader. Taiho peers inside, looking totally lost. Bjorn explains that every warrior joins a unit led by an Asgardian deity. Whichever god heads their squad will give them a nice power boost. Our hero Taiho checks his golden goblet once more. He only knows Odin and Thor, so he is hoping for a real heavy hitter. When the image finally flickers to life, Taiho's heart totally sinks. It is just a girl. She is pretty, but definitely not a thunder god. He is likely wondering where are the big guys like Thor or Odin. Suddenly, the scene shifts to Taiho drifting down a peaceful river in a tiny boat. While the girl rows peacefully, Taiho looks like he is about to blow a fuse. He is thinking, wait, aren't these supposed to be divine teams? So how on earth did I end up all alone here? Noticing his grumpy face, she asks why he has been acting so strange today. Before he can pout, she insists their little squad can rival any elite unit. Despite his massive doubts, he starts to feel a tiny bit curious. Taiho begins to wonder if she might actually be telling the truth. She explains that nobody above can meddle, and nobody below can cause trouble. It is basically paradise. Suddenly we flash back to that grand ceremony hall. He stares at the name Idun while others celebrate drawing Odin or Thor. He is essentially the only one stuck with a total mystery god. Even his buddy Jor's reaction did not make things any better. Jor tries to be supportive, telling him to keep his chin up. As the event continues, various leaders begin summoning their new recruits. Massive lines of heroic warriors start forming all over the hall. Taiho stands there clueless about who is actually leading this team Idun. Then he spots a red-haired girl tucked away in a quiet corner. With no other options, Taiho nervously makes his way over to her. When he mentions he is her new recruit, she looks absolutely shocked. She says it has been ages since a fresh rookie joined their ranks. Meanwhile, Taiho is thinking, okay lady, you are way too close right now. She then formally introduces herself by the name Hela. Back on the boat, Hela is busy staring a hole through Taiho. She is clearly trying to read exactly what is on his mind. Finally, Taiho asks what they are actually supposed to be protecting here. Hela pulls out a map showing Asgard and the dangerous Muspelheim beyond. She explains that Muspelheim is crawling with giants, demons, and dark gods. Taiho points to a suspicious red spot, asking what that place is. Hela sighs, identifying it as Eren, a land that is totally ruined. She adds that their little duo is stationed right on the front lines. Basically, they are the only thing stopping enemies from wrecking the world. Taiho studies the map, realizing it looks exactly like a video game. He asks if this is the legendary Ragnarok, and she nods gravely. She admits that while they protect the world, it is mostly survival. Taiho finds himself wondering if there is a way to hop worlds. He held on to a tiny sliver of hope that he'd eventually return to his gaming rig and normal life. Before he asks more, Helda cheerfully announces they have finally arrived. Taiho gazes at the massive doors while Helda introduces the goddess's grand temple. As her new warrior, Taiho should definitely show some proper respect. They enter, and Taiho is truly impressed by the structure's immense size. He politely asks if he will get to meet the goddess in person. Helda laughs softly, saying meeting a goddess face-to-face is usually impossible. She clarifies he will see her, but only from a respectful distance. At the hall's end stands a truly majestic statue of the goddess. On the floor, a mysterious circle engraved with a tree design catches his eye. Helda gives him a golden apple to offer at the sacred altar. Taiho takes the apple, approaches the tree symbol, and pauses briefly. He just tosses the apple, wondering what on earth is about to happen. The apple hits, and the tree engraving erupts into a blinding, radiant glow. Taiho shields his eyes as everything around him begins shifting. The statue comes alive, her voice echoing as she greets her new warrior. When he looks, the carved tree is now real golden and vibrant. Taiho immediately drops to one knee before her. The goddess smiles, saying humans show deep respect by kneeling like flowing water. She places her hand on his head to grant him a blessing. Golden light pours from her hand, completely enveloping young Taiho. He feels overwhelming energy surge through his entire body. In that moment, he receives the mark of the Life Guardian. Taiho glows as a newfound strength begins blooming deep inside him. Suddenly, he realizes all that nagging chronic pain from his pro-gaming days, including his back, neck, and digestion issues, has completely vanished. The ritual ends, and the goddess is eager to see his legendary feats. Taiho opens his eyes and finds himself back in reality. Helda helps him up, confirming the goddess has officially blessed him. She explains that Idun is the benevolent goddess of eternal youth. With her mark, Taiho can endure even the deadliest pain in battle. No matter how brutal things get, he has divine protection now. But our hero is distracted, thinking the goddess looked way too perfect. Helda continues, explaining he now has the blessing of life. The risk of dying is gone, and his power grows over time. She laughs, saying that's why they're called the zombie team. Taiho asks if defeating the enemies would let him return home. Helping him up, she says if the war ends, it is possible. Since this was likely the first time he held a girl's hand, his brain skipped logic and went straight into pure delusion mode. He started imagining a cozy future, married to sweet Helda. They would live together in a very peaceful, quiet home. After a long day, he'd return to find her waiting there. She would be in the kitchen like a domestic goddess. Taiho couldn't help but smile at the thought of their life. In his vivid daydream, Helda smiles sweetly while hand-feeding him like a prince. But reality delivers a swift kick the second he takes a bite. It tastes like a dusty boot sole. Our hero snaps back to Earth, where Helda asks with concern if the meat is a bit too tough. Before he can complain, she cheerfully promises things will improve very soon. If they just grind hard and climb the ranks, everything gets better. but our guy's already retreating back to his happy place again. Imagining Helda holding their baby by a river, telling him to be patient, then reality comes knocking once more. A system alert pings, warning that his delusions have hit critical levels. The next morning, Helda reviews the basics to ensure he actually learned something. She explains that every victory against an enemy rewards him with runes. Taiho asks if she means that red energy from those monsters earlier. Helda nods happily, noting his recent battle likely earned him a nice hoard. She clarifies that these runes are the key to unlocking new skills. He can boost his strength, endurance, agility, and even his mana reserves. Being a curious student, he asks what mental strength and mana do. Helda explains that mana is his fuel for magical offense and defense. Mental power helps focus, but Taiho wonders if mana boosts his saga. Helda explains that sagas are unique, growing through action and sheer belief. Their power depends on how many people believe in his epic legend. She reveals that truly powerful sagas can actually warp reality itself. She adds that rookies usually start with simple sagas for basic boosts, while some gain speed. Legendary sagas manifest powerful weapons from nothing. They can transform the warrior's form or even summon a massive army. Looking him in the eye, she tells him to remember one thing. The ultimate potential of his saga rests entirely on his own will. Hearing this, he recalls the epic tale of the brave knight Kelstead. Suddenly, the thunderous toll of a massive bell echoes everywhere. Helda snaps to attention, informing Taiho it is a call to battle. Caught off guard, Taiho asks if the action is starting this soon. Right on cue, a mysterious glowing portal ripples open before them. Flash forward and Taiho is looking sharp in fresh armor and gear. Helda stands by his side, adjusting the final straps of his uniform. Even now, our boy is grinning like a goofball near the portal. Helda gives him a firm reminder to stay safe and not die. Taiho smirks, noting, dying is supposedly hard, so he'll take that luck. With a confident wave, he steps through the shimmering gateway. Emerging on the other side, the sight there leaves him completely breathless. The entire place is absolutely packed with a sea of people. As a fellow introvert, I can confirm this is a nightmare scenario. Out of nowhere, a heavy hand thumps against his new shield. He spins around to find Jor laughing, happy. Taiho looks better now. With a cheeky grin, Jor asks if Taiho's Valkyrie is a knockout. He laughs, adding that, honestly, all Valkyries are total beauties, right? Before Taiho answers, Jor nudges him toward the battle group with a gentle shove. He's told to move, since they'll have a real commander for this specific battle. While the veterans form a perfect line, our hero just stands there looking lost. The commander asks if Taiho is Odin's warrior before sending him to the back. Without wasting a single second, he introduces himself to the entire legion. This impressive guy is Ragnar from the elite Heimdall's Legion. He tells the army they must reclaim the territory lost to the NLES. They need to open the gate and he'll lead them from the front. The troops are more than happy to follow this man into battle. They're suddenly standing in a snowy field. Taiho spots a monster, but it leaps down before he can shout a warning. This is no ordinary beast. It's the terrifying area Boss Whitefang. Ragnar orders a charge, but the monster's swing nearly wipes them all out. Taiho stands there cursing whoever opened that cursed portal in the first place. Everything goes silent as Taiho stares down the massive hammer, fearing the end. Game over, man. He stays calm, treating this like a scary boss fight in a game. He knows that hammer will turn him into a pancake if it connects. He looks at his small shield and realizes it won't do a thing. He tosses the shield and dumps all 5 runes into his agility. Suddenly, his senses sharpen and he narrowly slips past the crashing hammer. The wind from the blow grazes his skin, but he's still breathing. The other warriors cheer because someone actually survived a direct hit for once. But Taiho knows dodging alone won't win this epic fight. A voice screams for the soldiers to attack the beast's legs now. But one hammer swing sends that brave warrior flying into the sky. Without wasting time, Whitefang raises his hammer for another strike. That's when Taiho decides to risk it all on one final move. He activates Warrior's Mission, a storm skill that grants him insane speed. Instead of running away, he launches himself high into the air. Mid-air, he remembers Helda's advice and knows he has to survive this. He gets annoyed at the narrator for making his life sound tragic. He tells the story to stop with all these death flags. He pushes his storm power further than ever. He channels all that speed into his feet for one massive strike. Everything after that is just a total blur. He wakes up wondering if he's alive, seeing his sword in the eye. Taiho realizes this is his only chance to finish the beast. He's weaponless, so he activates a powerful new summoning ability. The sword of the warrior appears and he slays the massive boss. Elsewhere, Razgrid stands in space, moving pieces on a giant cosmic chessboard. A raven arrives as she celebrates their latest big victory. She thinks she's talking to Odin, but it's actually Hugin the bird. It asks if any of the new warriors were actually impressive today. But the messenger expects disappointment since they're all low-ranked rookies. She confesses that one warrior really impressed her, the guy who took down that beast. Back at the battlefield, Tyler is just chilling over the fallen White Fang's body. He's gripping his sword while the crowd goes wild, chanting Odin's name for everyone to hear. Honestly, the whole scene feels exactly like winning a major gaming tournament with all this cheering. But then he looks down at his weapon and gets actual goosebumps. It is the same sword from his game. It used to be rare before becoming totally basic. He decides he definitely wants to keep hearing those cheers and get even stronger. He gives a friendly salute with his blade until Jor pops over and grabs his shoulder. Jor says he did amazing. Evolving a saga mid-battle is a pretty huge deal after all. Tyler thanks him, saying it was only possible with help from Jor and Helda's awesome support. Jor is super impressed that our boy can just pull a sword out of thin air now. Tyler chuckles, admitting it is new, but he can summon or hide it whenever he wants. By now, our guy was totally wiped out and just wanted to head back home. But then Jor drops the bomb. They aren't going back yet. Bummer for our hero, right? He points toward a distant fortress, revealing it as their very next big objective. They're camping here until they capture it. Later, Tyler basically faceplants in his tent. He is totally 100% drained of all his energy. He can't believe all this wild stuff happened in just 24 hours. What a long day. He stares at his palms, remembering Jor's helpful tips on how to sense his saga. He checks his system window. Sweet. His synchronization has already hit 5%. He's definitely getting stronger. With 2 saga slots, he wonders if he can fuse them together. While he's pondering that, a warrior bursts in with a really suspicious, goofy grin. The guy says someone's looking for him. Outside, Tyler finds the whole crew waiting around. Every single one of them is wearing that same weirdly happy look. It's a bit awkward. He asks what's up, then spots Helda just hanging out by the cozy bonfire. And honestly, he gets all bashful just by making eye contact with her. So cute. Rewind 5 minutes. Helda is actually sitting on the ground, crying her absolute eyes out. She's apologizing to our guy, asking if she can take a peek at his sagas. Looking at the list, she totally panics. It is just one crazy legendary achievement after another. She is sobbing about being too arrogant to see what a powerful hero he really is. Tyler tries his best to calm her down, but the waterworks just won't stop flowing. She is begging for forgiveness just because she called him a total rookie earlier. Tyler's just standing there thinking, wow, she is actually incredibly cute like this. Hey, I totally agree with you, man. She is adorable. Seeing her freak out, Tyler decides it's time to share the whole truth with her. He explains that all those epic feats actually happened within a virtual gaming world. Helda gasps so loudly that I bet at least half the camp heard her clearly. All that was just a game. Tyler confirms it wasn't real life, but a virtual one. She thinks it over and says she gets it, but hey, he still technically did them. She adds that it's still incredible. Meanwhile, Tyler starts a massive internal debate with himself. He wonders if esports should count as real sports to avoid military service. Typical gamer thoughts. His brain goes on a wild tangent about society collapsing because of competitive gaming. Luckily, Helda snaps him back to reality by talking about his sagas again. She explains that normally there isn't really a limit to how many you can have. But for now, he's only got room for one more saga. What will it be? Our hero Taiyu stares at his skill options, agonizing over the perfect choice. Pure offense is tempting, but he decides that sheer power isn't today's priority. He selects Dragon Eyes instead, clearly aiming for that sweet, all-seeing vision. Sapphire light erupts from his gaze, followed by a roar that nearly sends Hilda jumping. Testing his sight, he realizes the world is crystal clear, though the strain nearly ends him. Hilda kindly advises him to recover while she gets ready to head out. Suddenly, she pulls him into a hug, calling him their team's ultimate lucky charm. The shock hits Taiyu so hard he expects the tent to explode from his racing heart. Once she departs, a scout named Rolf arrives to guide Taiyu toward the unit assembly. Taiyu dons a helmet, likely hoping to mask those suspiciously bright, glowing dragon eyes. Rolf explains their units have merged, ordering everyone to rendezvous at the Siri base camp. Taiyu flickers on his dragon sight to verify if this stranger is actually legit. He identifies the man as the wolf hunter, but his new eyes reveal way too much. Terrified by the visual overload, he frantically averts his gaze. During their hike, Rolf admits he is green with envy over Taiyu's divine Valkyrie visitor. He jokes that he would be shouting that achievement from every single rooftop. Taiyu feels like a total superstar, basking in the glow of his celebrity tier encounter. Curious about the perks, he asks what Team Owl brings to the table. Rolf notes their members choose between high-tier stealth or advanced target tracking skills. He vanishes into thin air before reappearing just as they reach the new campsite. Taiyu meets the unit's commander, a powerful woman sporting a striking mane of blue hair. She is a rare sight in Valhalla, where Valkyries usually hold all the spotlight. Her overwhelming aura makes it clear she is on a completely different power level. They call her the legendary Manhunter. A heavenly light descends, and while the crowd expects a new face, Razgrid makes her return. Taiyu identifies her as Odin's own ice princess using his handy new dragon vision. Razgrid takes command, announcing Leo's demise and the immediate merger of their two units. She unfurls a royal scroll and begins handing out some hard-earned mission rewards. Because our hero landed the killing blow, he walks away with the entire jackpot. With gold runes and points secured, he maintains a cool exterior while dancing internally. He is already picturing his future as a true living legend of this world. He catches the soldiers whispering and assumes they are celebrating his incredible feat. Wrong. They are only gossiping about how lucky he was to score a Valkyrie visit. He takes down a Titan, yet the rumor mill only cares about his social life. Razgrid silences the chatter, declaring their next mission is to seize the enemy fortress tomorrow. The game plan is shockingly simple. They are going to unleash the Steel Rain. The soldiers cheer as if she just promised them a lifetime of free feasts. Taiyu fakes some enthusiasm, though he has zero idea what Steel Rain actually is. He looks to Rolf for answers, but his buddy is just as clueless. The following morning, Razgrid takes to the skies and signals the start of the siege. The army rushes the gates with the intensity of a highly disciplined zombie horde. The defenders notice the advance and unleash a massive new monster to stop them. This beast is known as the terrifying Red Eyes. As the blades clash, Ciri begins debriefing him on the current tactical situation. While the battle rages, Ciri starts explaining the brilliance of Razgrid's master plan. The main army will keep the front gate busy, while her squad climbs the outer walls. They are going to sneak into the control rooms and unlock the fortress from within. She casually mentions they will be using something called Steel Rain to bust inside. Ralph gets all hyped up, acting like he totally knows what that fancy term means. But Taiho is giving him the side-eye because he knows Ralph is actually just guessing. Our hero is left wondering if it is a teleportation spell or some epic magic blast. Cut to Taiho sitting inside what looks like a massive, oversized beer keg. Suddenly, the terrifying reality of Steel Rain finally clicks in his brain. They are literally being launched in metal tubs toward the fortress like human cannonballs. Ralph asks if he is pumped, and Taiho is just like, "Are you serious right now? What is there to be happy about?" Meanwhile, the other warriors are cheering like crazy. They are all screaming about going to Valhalla, and Taiho is standing there thinking, "Wait, aren't we already in Valhalla? Did you guys sleep through the new recruit orientation?" The war horn blares, and their barrel starts rolling right into a massive cannon. Inside those metal tubes, the vibes are definitely all over the place. Half the guys are screaming in terror, while the others are having the best time. They are fueled by pure adrenaline as their barrels smash straight through the stone walls. The squad stumbles out looking like they just walked away from a major car accident. Everyone is complaining about sore backs and bitten tongues. It is a total mood killer. As for Taiho, he is just grateful to be alive and still breathing. Ciri pops up telling everyone to stay sharp because some uninvited guests are approaching. Ahead of them stands a giant clawed beast, guarded by a swarm of massive insects. Ciri explains they move in squads of 5, take out the leader, and the rest panic. "How do we spot the boss?" someone asks, since they all look exactly the same. That is when it hits. Taiho, it is time to use his fancy new Dragon Eyes skill. He switches on his supervision tags the alpha bug and shows Ciri the target. She does not hesitate for a second, charging straight at the designated leader. Taiho starts identifying other captains by whatever weird features he can spot. The fast guy, the pretty one, the famous one. He's basically a living walkthrough guide now. As each leader falls, the rest of the creepy crawlies start scurrying away in fear. Suddenly, another horn signals the next round, and Ciri decides to divide and conquer. She will hold the front line, while Ralph leads a small squad to the control center. Before they split up, she insists Taiho goes with Ralph, trusting them to succeed. Ralph's team is only 4 people, and 3 of them have stealth mode activated. Since Taiho hasn't unlocked invisibility yet, Ralph tells him to stay glued to his side. They slip away from the chaos as Ralph claims to know a secret VIP shortcut. He touches a specific stone and a hidden doorway rumbles open before them. They step into the gloomy tunnel with Ralph's torch flicking light against the shadows. Suddenly, Taiho takes a face full of sticky spiderwebs and begins his tiny panic dance. While peeling the silk off his face, he notices that this dusty old hallway definitely has not seen a visitor in ages. Still, they push deeper into the dark. The group presses on, but poor Taiho is struggling to keep up the pace. Above them, a giant spider is just hanging out, eyeing them like a fresh snack. Ralph whispers for everyone to watch their step as they try to play it cool. But out of nowhere, a terrifying clicking sound starts echoing closer and closer. Taihaho glances up just as a massive spider snatches a soldier with its fangs, hoisting him skyward. Taihaho yells out, but the crew stands paralyzed, watching their comrade become a literal snack. Surprisingly, they seem more fascinated than scared, casually noting how oversized the creepy crawler is. Ralph jokes the beast was clearly skipping meals and that their friend is definitely toast. Awakening his dragon eyes, Taihaho quickly realizes their situation has gone south. It isn't just one monster. Dozens of them are swarming in from every shadow. He warns Ralph they're surrounded. As the horde encroaches, Taihaho takes a deep breath and sharpens his focus. His skill reveals their paralyzing venom, but more importantly, he spots a glaring weak point. A powerful skill activates. His runic fang ignites his blade, and one flaming sweep incinerates every web and spider above. He barks the order to retreat, and nobody waits for a second invitation. During their frantic sprint, Ralph wonders aloud if Taihaho is secretly some legendary mage. A soldier frets over their lost weapon, but Taihaho coolly promises to forge another. Using draconic vision, Taihaho navigates the maze-like tunnels until they reach a heavy door. This is the place Ralph shouts, ushering everyone inside. Taihaho leads the way, but a slight delay allows a spider to sneak in. Suddenly it's a 3-on-1 cage match with a giant arachnid. While the others barricade the entrance, Taihaho summons a fresh blade and ends the spider instantly. The group collapses, panting heavily like they just finished a brutal workout. Checking their location, Taihaho heads toward the central console of the room. Ralph confirms this secret bunker lacks guards specifically to keep its high security location hidden. Ralph pulls out a round key, slots it into the device, eager to open the gates and save their army. A brilliant flash erupts as a robotic voice echoes through the chamber. The system announces emergency control authentication complete. A mysterious girl floats down, introducing herself as Black Caster, ready to assist. As the guys stand there starstruck, Taihaho reminds them they're on a ticking clock. He tells Ralph to quit gawking and actually give the AI some orders. Ralph requests the main gate open, but she mistakenly unlocks the rear exit instead. Ralph grins, declaring the mission finished. He suggests catching their breath with the cute AI while the army handles the rest. Suddenly, the girl's tone shifts, warning of an incoming intruder. A massive presence nears, sending a chill down Taihaho's spine. How could anything breach this steel? Ralph mentions the spiders outside, but Taihaho knows better. Whatever is coming just wiped out that entire nest. The door shatters, revealing a furious Red Eyes. The beast snarls lethal threats. He vows to end them. The trio freezes as the ultimate party crasher enters. Taihaho draws his saber, thinking of Helda as he leaps into the fray. The others follow, but Red Eyes moves with impossible lethal speed. With a thunderous swing of his hammer, he crushes the warrior beside Taihaho. The impact sends him flying, leaving a massive crater in the stone wall. The beast pauses. Where did that little squirt go? The beast grumbled. Unaware, Taiho was diving down like a hawk. He triggers his Storm Saga, aiming a sharp blade directly at the skull of old Red Eyes. But the monster spots him, drops its heavy hammer, and lets those scary claws fly. Oh no, Taiho realized it was a total trap. Red Eyes had been waiting for that move. The beast catches him midair and delivers a massive pro wrestling style tombstone pile driver. He gets slammed into the dirt. Rolfie screams in shock as the floor literally craters. Taiho just lies there completely still. Suddenly he finds himself floating high up in the sky. He wonders what this strange feeling is. Then he opens his eyes to a blinding light. Is this the end, he thinks? Suddenly he sees Red Eyes preparing for another strike. He is sure he is a goner this time. Meanwhile, good old Rolfie is standing nearby. He draws his bow and fires a spicy flaming arrow that circles around the monster. The beast howls as the flames sting while Rolfie cheers for Taiho to stay strong. The monster spins around, totally ticked off, and gets ready to squash that annoying fly. For a split second, it glances back and forth between Rolfie and our hero Taiho. It just cannot decide who to take out first. That brief pause is all Taiho needs. Plot twist, Taiho was just playing possum. He knows if he moves even one muscle, he is toast. So he stays perfectly still. Thankfully, the monster decides to ignore the guy not moving. It charges straight at Rolfie, who is bravely getting ready for a serious final stand. Down on the ground, Taiho feels like his whole body is on fire. Everything really hurts, but something deep inside him is roaring a reminder that he is still breathing. He slowly pushes himself up, and Red Eyes does not even realize he is back. Taiho ignores the ouchies, reactivates his storm power, then flashes forward for a massive slice. He slices through the monster perfectly. Even Rolfie is impressed, saying, "Whoa, take it easy, dude. That is a bit much." Rolfie laughs, telling him to end that poor monster's suffering already. Taiho walks over politely and offers a quick apology before activating his warrior sword saga. But then something totally wild happens. His hands begin to glow with a strange light. A giant hammer appears as the system announces he has unlocked the new Skull Crusher saga. Taiho slams that hammer down with so much force that the entire room starts to shake. Rolfie and the third warrior rush over. The warrior is practically screaming with pure excitement. He shouts that Taiho actually pulled it off and their team has won the battle. Rolfie is just staring at Taiho like his brain is still trying to process the win. Another notification pops up. Taiho leveled up and his combat sync reached 7%. Then news comes in the Black Fortress is captured and Valhalla has claimed total victory. Rolfie and the gang grab Taiho for a massive group hug, cheering the war is over. The legendary Red Eyes, the big final boss of the enemy army, is finally defeated. He was beaten by the kid nobody expected anything from back to the battlefield now. A warrior named Brack is proudly holding up the severed head of the last boss, and just like that, the long siege had finally come to a very successful end. Meanwhile, high up in the sky, a mysterious raven was keeping an eye on everything. Seeing Brack, he wonders why Risgrid seems way more interested in our boy Taiho. Back at the victory party, Rolfie is happily carrying Taiho right on his shoulders. The warriors are all shouting his name. The nobody kid just did the impossible. A Valkyrie shows up to announce it is party time, and the whole crowd goes wild. The brutal days are officially over. Taiho steps away and stares up at the sky. Rolfie asks if he is doing okay, and Taiho smiles and says he is in. His HP was critical, and Rolfie joked he'd cheated death. He looked totally KO'd until Ciri arrived with a cheerful, sunny grin. When she offered drinks, Rolfie didn't waste a frame saying yes. He claimed it was a dream come true to share a toast. Taiho couldn't help but admire that smooth, daylight flirting technique. Suddenly, every warrior in sight swarmed her, hoping for a sip. She cracked a keg open, shouting a lively toast to Valhalla. Across the room, Rolfie had managed to draw his own massive audience. He recapped the battle like a professional, high-stakes sports commentator. Every chaotic moment of the spider skirmish was vividly described. He specifically highlighted Taiho's legendary low blow against the monster. Every man present winced in sympathy for that poor creature's fate. Meanwhile, our local hero, the Nutcracker of Valhalla, watched the fun. His eyes kept wandering towards Ciri, who seemed genuinely happy. He wondered if she'd ever truly learned how to smile so brightly. The bash grew wilder as confusing jokes and odd references flew. Even the tipsy dwarves acted strange, which was a red flag. Just then, Razgrid arrived to announce that Taiho had a visitor. It was the lovely Helda, and the crowd erupted into cheers. As they departed, the guys yelled, "Don't waste the night, kid!" Despite the jealousy, Razgrid stepped in to end the party early. She ordered everyone to bed to prepare for tomorrow's quest. Come sunrise, the troops gathered, but Taiho looked completely wiped out. His constant yawning made him the perfect target for friendly teasing. Rolf leaned in with wide eyes, asking about his busy night. A fellow warrior jokingly asked if he'd stayed up all night. A third guy smirked, asking, "So did you have fun, kid?" Flustered Taiho gave a shy grin and claimed it was top secret. Before the jokes escalated, Ciri arrived to begin the mission briefing. She announced a special raid targeting the eastern side of the fortress. They were scouting ancient mines sealed away during the fortress's fall. The dwarves vanished into the shadows, leaving only silence behind. Taiho wondered if these dwarves were as grumpy as RPG characters. Rolf joked that dwarves love ale, then lied about being sober. He even claimed dwarven women were so manly they grew beards. Taiho mentally sighed, definitely not interested in that specific lore. Razgrid announced they'd be traveling via a method called Black Lightning. Faces paled with dread. We then flashed back to the tent. That was when Helda had invited him for a private talk. She gifted him a special pendant to boost his recovery speed. He also received a golden apple fragment, a legendary tier item. This miracle cure heals wounds, cleanses toxins, and shatters curses. She gently kissed his brow, offering a divine blessing from Idon. Divine energy surged through Taiho as he braced for the mission. With a heart full of courage, he marched toward his adventure. Back in the now main character, Taiho found himself face first in a snowdrift before the giant fortress. He pops out looking super annoyed, muttering that he knew this trip would be a total mess. Honestly, getting launched like a body in a pine box was just crossing the line. He glances around at his motionless teammates buried in the slush, wondering if they actually kicked the bucket. Then he remembers the necklace of Helva. That charm is way more powerful than he originally guessed. The squad regroups at the fortress gates and cautiously makes their way inside. This place is dark and super spooky. Someone jokes that dwarves must hate sun, while Ciri claims they're Valhalla warriors sent by a Valkyrie. The air feels thick, almost like it's heavy with centuries of old secrets and sadness. Taiho flicks on his dragon eyes to scout the room and warns that things feel seriously off. Shadowy figures move above them as Ciri reacts in a heartbeat. She shouts for everyone to lift their shields as arrows start pouring down like rain. The squad huddles under shields while Taiho peeks out thinking, wait, this can't be right. They're clearly dwarves, but they're also totally undead zombies. Everyone freezes as Ralph grumbles, "Zombies? Why on earth are there zombies in this place? It looks like the poor dwarves didn't make it and somehow got turned into the walking dead." Ralph asks Taiho if he's absolutely sure about what he's seeing. Taiho confirms it with his Saga active. He can see them perfectly even in the pitch dark. He starts reading off their bizarre names like Ghost Dwarf of Sinma and Ghost Dwarf Reaper, plus a Lord Vocal Ghost Dwarf. Seriously, these zombie titles are getting weirder by the second. No time for jokes, though, as one undead archer is already aiming another arrow. Siri screams for everyone to hold the line and keep those shield gaps tightly closed. A teammate yells that their shields are cracking and won't stand up to more. More undead dwarves swarm the balconies, preparing to unleash another deadly wave of sharp arrows. Things look pretty dicey until a different dwarf suddenly pops into view. This guy's actually alive and clutching what looks like a homemade firebomb. He tosses it, creating a firewall that blinds the zombies and stops the arrow barrage. He yells for them to follow, and the squad doesn't hesitate for a single second. They squeeze through a tiny shaft, and of course, poor Ralph gets his big self stuck. Luckily, he wiggles through Taiho, brings up the rear, and they finally stop to catch their breath. They're staring at a huge underground cavern that is beyond creepy. Our new friend starts explaining the local mess. All that zombie madness is the work of a vampire who appeared right at sundown. He breaks down the basics: get bitten or killed by a vampire, and you're a zombie. He describes the beast as a giant, with pale gray skin and a totally bald head. With eyes like bottomless pits, he adds the guy is a physical beast rather than a magic user. Siri asks if the dwarf is seeking revenge, suggesting they probably should make a plan first. But the dwarf says it's not just a grudge, it's something way more massive. Lately, the miners found a rare material they call ulti. The crew is totally stunned, and Ralph asks, "What's that?" The dwarf explains it's the legendary metal of gods and the toughest stuff in existence. It boosts rune powers and definitely can't end up with the villains. Someone chimes in that they've heard the rumors and confirms this stuff is truly legendary. When Ralph asks for a comparison, the dwarf reveals that Thor's hammer was forged with ulti. He points back toward the fortress. He points upward, noting the sacred anvil serves as the perfect vampire hideout. Our short friend mentions this legendary tool requires celestial light to actually function. Taiho is confused, wondering how sunlight reaches a dungeon deep beneath the earth. Turns out the tower summit actually peeks right out onto the surface world. With a retractable ceiling in play, Taiho realizes they have a massive tactical advantage. It is exactly 12 o'clock high noon, so the team charges the vampire fortress. Inside, they find a pack of zombies literally playing poker and just hanging out. The ghouls were drinking heavily, but they dropped their mugs once the party arrived. Siri leads the charge while the dwarves start whipping up some intense wind magic. Tornadoes toss the undead around, while the group's demolition expert preps his big gun. He fires his massive cannon, clearing a path through the rotting zombie horde. Our main trio rushes forward, heading straight for the chamber housing the holy anvil. Once they pass the main gate, a heavy, unsettling silence fills the entire room. Taiho senses a trap, spotting a suspicious shadow lurking right above the anvil's location. A dark figure looms overhead. The vampire lord was expecting guests all along. Looking closer, Taiho notes the boss is surprisingly smaller than the average dungeon beast. But before he can blink, the atmosphere takes a terrifying bloody turn. The vampire blurs, instantly shredding 2 archers before they can even notch an arrow. Blood hits the stones, leaving Taiho frozen in a state of absolute shock. The vampire teleports right next to him, whispering in a voice that chills the bone. The villain demands an explanation, declaring that all these treasures belong to him alone. He mocks their weakest hour theory with a laugh that echoes through the halls. Sharp claws loom over Taiho as the monster turns to threaten the entire party. He warns them to stay still unless they want their heads taken as trophies. Siri checks the survivors, though Ralph sadly reports his favorite bow is now firewood. The vampire eyes Taiho, suggesting that such talented warriors are too good to waste. They would make ideal puppets for his army, but Taiho has other plans. Our hero decides that dying is way better than becoming some mindless zombie slave. Just as Taiho prepares a reckless move, a stray arrow whistles through the air. The monster catches the arrow mid-air with his insane supernatural speed. Before he can gloat, the dwarf lets loose with a massive cannon blast. A literal wall of fire slams into the vampire's chest. Talk about a direct hit. Yet the damage is minimal, as the beast uses pure strength to resist. He walks through the fire like it is nothing. Siri quickly orders a defensive formation. With one strike, he sends the warriors flying like a set of pins. The dwarves try their best, even unleashing a flashy triple whirlwind combo attack. The vampire tanks everything, but amidst the chaos, Taiho spots a golden opportunity. He finds a secret lever that controls the ceiling hatch and pulls it hard. A brilliant beam of pure high noon sunlight strikes the vampire right in the face. The monster howls in agony as his flesh begins turning into solid gray stone. Ralph asks our hero if he actually knows how to end a vampire. Taiho considers the classics maybe a wooden stake or just taking the head off. Standard monster slaying stuff, right? But the boss isn't done with them just yet. The villain begins a dark chant calling forth heavy storm clouds from above. The sun disappears instantly, replaced by the chilling glow of a pale moonlight. The crew figures it's time to crack this jerk's skull and finishes him off once and for all. But their timing was off. The vampire's form explodes into a whirlwind of bats filling the entire hall. The swarm merges into a colossal bat monster with burning eyes of pure hatred. Welcome to Phase 2, folks. The vampire shrieks, promising a world of pain for their disrespect. He unhinges his jaw and starts hurling balls of acid that melt through everything. Taiho yells for his teammates to scramble for cover. But the clumsy barbarians freeze up and are instantly melted down to their bones. Needing a miracle, Taiho takes a steady breath and calls upon his Saga. He launches himself right at the beast in a daring head-on strike. The bat laughs, wondering if Taiho is just plain crazy or looking for a quick death. It readies another acid blast, but Taiho is lightning fast, now dodging and landing a heavy strike. The blade connects, but it shatters against the monster's reinforced stony hide. Left defenseless and shocked, he's now precariously balanced on the creature's massive back. The vampire demands he get off, but Taiho politely explains that he's a bit too high to jump. Before this becomes a parody of How to Train Your Dragon. The vampire offers to drop him off so they can resume their duel on the floor. As they descend, a golden light fills the room and Taiho realizes a new saga is awakening. The vampire growls for Taiho to stop messing around and get down there. Taiho centers himself, focuses his energy, and unleashes his new power, Dragon Commander. This legendary skill lets him tame and mount any beast from griffins to giant bats. It turns out this is one of the mythic abilities of Kolstad, the world-renowned Dragon Rider. Now this terrifying bat is completely under our hero's thumb. Suddenly, the brute transforms into a tiny, adorable bat, leaving the whole group speechless. Even Ciri is staring at the little guy with a look like she wants to take him home. Then in a flash, it snaps back into its giant, monstrous form. The vampire is absolutely livid, screaming that he'll make them pay for that embarrassment. Honestly, I feel for him. Going from a king of the night to a pocket pet is rough. That definitely did some serious damage to his Dark Lord ego. Taiho feels the tension, but Ciri rallies the troops. It's time to end this fight. Taiho hops back on the bat using his Saga to force it back into its cute, tiny state. He quickly lays out the final battle plan for his friends. He'll soften the target up, then they'll all strike together for the kill. He takes to the skies just as the first morning sunbeams begin to scorch the creature. Then Taiho commands the bat to dive bomb the floor at maximum velocity. He bails out at the very last second before the monster hits the dirt, activating his warrior Saga skull. Crusher, he delivers a devastating hammer blow to the head. Unbelievably, that stubborn bat is still clinging to life. But our dwarf friend isn't finished tossing a massive bundle of explosives at the beast. The blast is huge, yet the vampire monster is still barely hanging on. So Ralph casually chucks that skeleton guy from earlier into the flames like it's no big deal. Taiho can only shake his head, wondering why his friends carry such weird stuff around. That's when Ralph turns and asks if the winged jerk is finally dead. Taiho checks with his Saga and confirms that the threat is officially neutralized. With the battle won, the party approaches the altar's anvil. The dwarf opens the chest to find the legendary medal of the gods. Taiho, Rolf, and Ciri set off together on their next journey. We're risking our lives for this tiny pebble. It hardly feels worth the life-threatening trouble. Our dwarf friend insists it is plenty to forge a legendary power-packed ring. This rare metal needs a guardian, so he trusts Ciri and Valhalla to keep it safe. Ciri accepts the heavy responsibility with immense pride. Business is finished. Now Rolf asks the big question, when do the drinks start pouring? The dwarf laughs, asking if there is any other way to celebrate a job well done. Time to drink until we forget our names. But Ciri plays the party pooper role today. He cannot let them leave empty-handed. That would totally violate sacred dwarven hospitality rules. He reveals a vault overflowing with epic gear. As the heavy doors creak open, everyone starts grabbing the shiniest weapons and armor they can find. Since the main character isn't being a greedy loot goblin, Isk invites him to pick one special prize. Without skipping a beat, Taiho fires up his dragon eyes to scan for the best loot. Something catches his eye. Later we see his new gear, a super stylish cloak. The sole rare grade blue item here is the legendary falcon wings. It is light, tough, and magical. The dwarf teaches him the secret chant to activate it. Look at our boy, go. He is a falcon, now soaring high over the massive Mount Titans. He glides over the magic coffins of his resting allies, heading back to Black Castle. Touchdown, the squad heads straight to report their success to the lovely Valkyrie Razgrid. Ciri breaks down the chaos, explaining how one pesky vampire caused a total mine shutdown. After he hijacked the mines, the team worked together to crush him and save the fragment. Razgrid inspects the divine metal, telling the team they have achieved something truly legendary. She wonders why it is so tiny but keeps it professional. Mission complete, everyone. Oh, fantastic job, team. She promises the Fallen will soon return as elite legendary steel warriors, but first some well-deserved rest. The group heads out, and Rolf is already planning mischief. He nudges Taeho, asking if he is ready for a few rounds at the pub. Taeho just chuckles and shakes his head. Is this guy serious? He thinks jokingly. I'm exhausted and need a nap. Suddenly, Siri walks up with a warm, congratulatory smile. She admits that Taeho was definitely the most valuable player of that intense battle. Our boy gets all shy, insisting it was a total team effort from start to finish. He recalls how that vampire jerk was a literal nightmare to deal with. A monster so strong he blocked the sun. But his system window reveals the real rewards. He just unlocked a brand new saga. He scored several runes and bumped his synchronization rate up to 9%. I'm dying to see what kind of power-up happens at 10% synchronization. Meanwhile, Valkyrie Regan is on patrol. This time she wanders much further out than usual. All is quiet until a bizarre chilling sound echoes through the Mount Titans. She investigates the source, and what she finds makes her eyes go wide with shock. She immediately pops her swarming windcloak saga, knowing that getting any closer is suicide. She pulls a quick unit turn and flies back towards safety at top speed. Once she returns safely, she rushes to Razgrid with a dire warning. A massive enemy army is marching their way. Razgrid immediately calls for urgent reinforcements to be sent back to Valhalla. Meanwhile, Ciri is busy being the responsible one, ordering everyone back to their bunks. She wants everyone well rested for the upcoming fight. The warriors listen but aren't happy. Meanwhile, Taiwa stays in his corner, totally focused on his secret training grind. He suspects this new cloak has way more potential than just simple escaping. He's determined to unlock its secrets. Morning arrives with a view of some strong legs. A new Valkyrie named Ingrid arrives from the north with 500 warriors. That brings the total defense force at Black Castle to 2,500. But the scouts bring bad news. The enemy has over 6,000 beasts. Faced with the odds, Rusgrid says they must hold the fort no matter what. They'll have to rely on their defensive magic as the final line of resistance. These three heroes were ready to protect Asgard and all 9 realms. Everyone is at their post on the wall waiting for the battle. Soon enough, the enemies arrive. Some guy is already screaming Thor's name. They're all shouting to Odin and their gods, getting hyped for battle. Ciri orders the troops to aim, while our main character starts overthinking things. Realizing he needs range, he pulls a handy crossbow from his inventory. The enemy reaches the walls, and suddenly the sky is dark with arrows. Many monsters go down instantly, but the tough ones just stand back up. They just raise their shields and keep charging like it was nothing. Soon they're at the base, tossing up hooks and starting to climb. But the defenders are ready. One soldier laughs, "Not on my watch." Another guy just smirks and pours boiling water on the poor climbers. Massive boulders come crashing down, crushing anyone who gets too close. Ralph fires explosive arrows while Ciri and Tayo slice through any intruders. Then the sky goes dark again, but this time from a massive shadow. They look up to see a dragon diving down like a winged nightmare. It breathes a wave of fire, and for a second it feels like game over. It's pure chaos. People are screaming and flames are spreading everywhere. But then Valkyrie Regan steps forward like the absolute boss she is. She slams her spear down and magical runes start glowing everywhere. A giant glowing dome forms over the castle, blocking the dragon's fire. Everyone finally takes a breath of relief, but that peace doesn't last long. The beasts regroup and start hammering a single weak spot in the shield. Regan yells that if they keep it up, the magic shield will break. That's Taiwa's cue. He sprints right to the edge of the high wall. He leaps off like a madman, shouting his transformation chant midair. Power of the falcon, take me to the sky. Suddenly he's a bird. With some slick flying, he zips past the barrier before anyone notices. He gets behind the dragons and yells, "Here I go," then dives down. Right before he hits the target, he switches back into his human form. He kicks a rider off their dragon and totally hijacks the giant lizard. Last night's training really paid off. The dragon is his now. He uses his commander skill and makes the dragon look totally cute. He then remembers he needs a spear and activates his warrior skill. He expected something cool, but he ended up getting a bamboo spear. Talk about luck. Taiho kicks things off with a blast of dragonfire. He casually wipes out 2 more enemies. The mob gets heated and charges Slash, but our boy is moving like a total blur. He picks them off one by one easily. Below him, the home team is cheering. Even Rian is totally stunned by how much Taiho has leveled up his skills. But don't get too comfy. A massive flock of harpies is heading right for them. There are just way too many for Taiho alone. Even a pro has his limits. So he tells his dragon buddy to swoop down and pick up Ciri for backup. She activates her saga/her witch's arrows are like heat-seeking missiles and never miss. She starts knocking those harpies out of the sky one after another. Down on the battlefield, even the Valkyries are looking up in total awe. They're watching our main character single-handedly turn the tide of this entire fight. He's definitely the MVP/ his harpy slaying spree is giving everyone some much-needed hope. But that good vibe disappears when something huge slams into the ground from above. The impact rattles everyone's teeth/ Ciri and Taiho try to see what just landed. Once the dust clears, they see a giant beast with glowing blue eyes and fur. Using his dragon's vision, Taiho catches a glimpse of this big guy's name tag. Turns out it's one of Loki's pets, the actual boss of this whole stage. The warriors see this skyscraper-sized problem and go / hey, this is totally not fair. Seriously, how are they supposed to defeat a mountain with legs? The creature doesn't seem to care, / as he starts stomping around like he owns the place. Up high, Ciri suggests a retreat and asks Taiho to drop her by Reen. The giant grabs something massive and starts trying to smash through the barrier. Reen is doing her absolute best to hold the line while things get dicey. She begins chanting a powerful spell using the ancient power of runes. But every giant blow is so heavy / the shockwaves knock out the local warriors. That big jerk just keeps throwing one massive attack after another. His last hit really packs a punch and cracks the shield / Reen is exhausted. Racer jumps in to help / adding her own magic to reinforce the weakening barrier. She gives Reen a quick look and asks if she's doing okay. Reen nods but knows it's only a matter of time before the shield fails. Razor agrees. Facing a boss like this with low-level troops is a total nightmare. She mutters about how this would be over if she could use that power. She wants to use her true Valkyrie form / and offers a prayer to Odin. She explains they can't win like this / and asks to unlock their combat seals. As she prays, a black raven starts circling right over the giant's head. Through the bird's eyes, Odin himself is watching the whole battle play out. Even seeing the Valkyries struggle, that stubborn one-eyed king refuses to unlock the seal. He tells them this is a test. / Valhalla only wants the strongest warriors available. Before Razor can even respond, a guy named Bra steps right up to the plate. He lets out a war cry so loud it shakes the ground and rallies everyone. Now this guy isn't just your average, everyday fighter. He's from Thor's legendary legion / his roar makes the others find their courage. Without a single second of hesitation, Bra charges straight at the giant. His axe comes swinging down like lightning right into the monster's forehead. It barely leaves a scratch / but man, the crowd is loving that warrior spirit. Even a tiny scratch meant the beast could bleed. The warriors charged, shouting their gods' names. But the giant, he didn't exactly see it that way. With a roar, he swung one arm and sent Brack flying like a bug. Meanwhile, Taiho landed back on the wall, dropping Ciri off right next to Rolf. Ciri quickly explained the plan. She and Rolf would work together to open a shot. Taiho just needed to get back into the sky and wait for his big moment. Taiho glanced at the giant, spotting that tiny little cut on its massive forehead. It wasn't much, but it sure made the big guy grumpy. Ciri briefed Rolf. They prepared the siege ballista and fired both of them, activating their legendary sagas. Rolf's eyes went wide. Wait, are you crazy? No one has ever tried that before? But Ciri stood firm. Risky or not, this was their best shot at winning. High above, Taiho waited, but the monster's gaze suddenly locked right onto him. For something so huge it moved shockingly fast, its giant hand shot out. Before Taiho could even react smack, he was swatted right out of the sky. He hit the ground hard, tumbling like a rag doll against the base of the wall. The Valkyries gasped in horror as Razgrid screamed and bolted toward him. The others yelled after her, but she didn't slow down. Taiho was their hope. What she found was heartbreaking. His leg was mangled and his body was broken. Outside, the beasts were gathering. Taiho tried to move, but nothing would work. His vision blurred as death crept in. Suddenly, everything shifted. He wasn't there anymore. He was at a table sitting across from Hela. Their home was so peaceful. She smiled warmly, telling him to eat quickly. On his plate were glowing golden fragments. These were the special apple pieces she'd given him. Taiho took a big bite. Golden light surged through him. Even the Valkyries on the wall froze in shock. The aura he gave off wasn't just strong, it was divine, Razgrid whispered in disbelief. How could a low-ranking warrior shine with the magnificent power of a god? Taiho stood up, glowing like the sun. Every wound healed, and all pain vanished. The beasts hesitated as fear crept in. Taiho blasted them back like they were nothing. Up on the fortress wall, Ciri shouted to see if he was okay, reminding him they were ready. Taiho looked up and said he felt fine, but he was missing a ride. His cloak alone wouldn't get him high enough. That's when Razgrid appeared behind him. She told him not to worry, saying he could ride her. Hey, I'm not jealous. Not jealous at all, man. I really want to ride a Valkyrie, too. Meanwhile, the other warriors were throwing themselves at the giant like angry ants. They started biting down, but the giant just swatted them away like pests. Taiho, on the other hand, was busy blushing like a schoolboy, asking what she meant until she transformed into a magnificent white dragon. She finally understood why Odin refused their help. This battle wasn't hers to fight. This victory belongs to Taiho and his friends because they are truly strong. And with that, Taiho hopped on apologizing for the trouble while she just said, "Hold on tight." Without any warning, she took off into the clouds. They rose above the battlefield while Ciri yelled to Rolf that it was showtime. She adjusted the massive ballista as Rolf pulled back the enormous frame with everything. The blade begins to shine as their two legendary sagas merge. On the battlefield, a bruised Brack stands tall and activates his Saga Son of God. Energy surges, granting him 10 times his usual strength. Right then, Ciri and Rolf combine powers for their move, the Huntress Witch's Sure Shot Arrow. A bit long-winded, sure, but it definitely packs a punch. Brack strikes first, soaring upward to bury his axe deep into the giant. As the beast roars in agony, Rolf and Ciri release their devastating shot. The massive arrow zips through the air, diving right into the monster's gaping maw. It explodes with a massive boom that surely shook the entire continent. The giant stumbles, letting out a final howl before crashing down. Razgrid spots an opening and dives, telling Taiho to prepare for his moment. Seizing the chance, Taijo triggers both of his powerful sagas simultaneously, calling it the Saga of Warrior Storm Charge, as Razgrid plunges downward. A fierce whirlwind builds around them, boosting their speed and momentum. They aim straight for the giant's weak spot, the wound on its forehead. The collision is massive, making the ground tremble beneath their feet. After that tough win, everyone gathers for a grand feast to celebrate our heroes. Happy voices and laughter fill the hall as the main stage lights up. The Valkyries arrive, trading their heavy armor for elegant flowing white gowns. Regan raises a giant horn of mead, calling the rowdy crowd to attention. She calls for a celebratory toast, and the whole room erupts in cheers. Regan shares that it's a true honor to celebrate this legendary win together. She then signals for quiet and offers a polite apology to the group. Sadly, 3 Valkyries can't serve everyone when there are hundreds of thirsty soldiers. Instead, she announces that her sister, the beautiful Ice Princess Razgrid, will personally serve the 2 warriors who showed the most courage today. However, the person in the spotlight isn't exactly thrilled about the idea. Honestly, she's already tempted to knock a few heads together. Razgrid calls up the first hero, Brack of Thor's Legion, to thunderous applause. The soldiers are already calling him the Son of God and a one-man army. Razgrid pours his drink with a stoic face before calling up Taiho. The cheering grows louder, but the vibe starts to get a little playful. Rather than just praising his skills, the crowd starts teasing him about his private visit from a Valkyrie and riding one into the fray. "That's my boy," someone shouts, and the whole room bursts into laughter. Razgrid looks more annoyed by the second as they gossip about her business. Before things get too awkward, Ingrid steps in to change the subject. She announces that both men are officially promoted to lower-class warriors. Taijo stands there in shock, recalling that even Jor once held this title. He's finally moving up. Regan raises her horn, yelling that it's time to party. Standing side by side, Brack and Taijo share their very first official bro toast. Hearing the crowd chant his name, Taijo thinks, "Yeah, I could get used to this." So like a true champ, he downs his entire drink in one massive gulp. Unfortunately, it turns out our legendary hero is a total lightweight. He's completely wasted before he even puts the cup down. Honestly, he's just vibing. But elsewhere, 2 shadowy dudes are holding a tiny villain convention. One asks if that's the legendary Taiho who unlocked divine power. The other guy nods, "Yep, not bad, but even my children could pull that off." He sighs, agreeing to help just this once since they asked so nicely. A week later, Taiho settles into his sweet new cabin, a total promotion perk. He's napping peacefully until an earthquake suddenly decides to crash the party. He rushes out wondering what kind of chaos is knocking today. A mysterious cloaked figure stands there, literally dripping with sparks and lightning. This hooded stranger just stands there, giving Taiho a very intense stare. It's super dramatic. Taiho asks, "Who are you and why the front yard light show?" The mysterious man stays silent. Instead, he asks if Taiho is the low-tier warrior who crushed 2 bosses. He scoffs, saying even his kids could outperform a supposedly famous hero like him. He lowers his hood and slowly unsheathes a massive blade. Taiho turns on his dragon eyes and instantly regrets that life choice. This guy's energy is insane, maybe even surpassing the mighty Valkyries themselves. Then the name appears and Taiho's heart nearly stops beating. Ragnar Lothbrok, the actual Viking legend, is literally standing on his porch. Ragnar demands a duel to see if Taiho is legit or just hype. Taiho's like, "Did you seriously wake me up for an early morning death match?" Trying to stay cool, he asks why he's getting this surprise boss fight. Ragnar's simple answer, Why would I need a reason to talk to a dead man? They hit the field and Taiho pulls his blade while Ragnar stands chill. Taiho kicks off his Storm Warrior Saga to crank up his speed and power. He swings a heavy strike, but Ragnar just blocks it with a single hand. He just grins, basically asking, "Is that your best shot, kid?" Getting salty, Taiho boosts his speed, hoping quickness beats what raw power couldn't. But to Ragnar, it's all the same slow movement. He effortlessly parries every single move. Taiho suspects this beast can actually read his mind or predict movements. He tries a sneaky flank, zipping behind Ragnar to catch him slipping. Before he can swing, a lightning-fast slap sends Taiho's head spinning instantly. He's launched through the forest, crashing hard against a giant tree trunk. Taiho realizes this man is a monster and the power gap is massive. Without that divine protection, he'd be totally cooked by now. Ragnar strolls over and starts dropping some deep warrior philosophy. He speaks of fallen heroes becoming steel and finding eternal peace. So Taiho has nothing to fear. Ragnar swings his blade, effortlessly cleaving the massive tree behind Taiho in two. Taiho shifts into a falcon, mid-air, barely escaping with his feathers. Ragnar looks up, saying, "If you're gonna hit me, bring the heat. I won't even budge." Taiho doesn't blink, reactivates Storm Warrior, and dives straight down. Right before impact, he swaps to Skull Crusher Warrior, and a massive warhammer pops into existence. Even with that heavy-duty mallet coming down, Ragnar does not even flinch. Upon contact, the ground starts dancing with shockwaves that could wake the neighbors miles away. A giant crater forms, but somehow our buddy Taiho still managed to miss. In a flash, Ragnar slips away, dodges perfectly, and grabs Taiho by his noggin. He mentions Taiho's got talent, but he definitely needs some more time in the oven. And just like that, he treats Taiho to a very sudden dirt nap. Now he is holding Taiho by the collar, politely asking if he is ready for round 2. But Ragnar does not wait for a reply before his arm starts sizzling with scary energy. He gives Taiho a friendly slap that basically reorganizes everything in the room. He stands over him, checking his work with a simple yep that looks about right. Then he heads off, muttering about how he really expected a bit more spice. Suddenly, a golden glow fills the room. Ragnar stops and turns, finally getting serious. Taiho is back up, shining like a brand new light bulb with divine energy everywhere. Ragnar admits the gossip was true. This kid actually knows how to use god power. He finally understands why the goddess has so much faith in her little champion. He starts warning Taiho about using that holy juice carelessly, but before he finishes, Taiho just face plants onto the floor. Later, he wakes up feeling a little bit fuzzy. The first thing he sees is Hela kneeling nearby, looking super worried about him. She asks if he is okay, and he wonders what in the world just happened. She says she was totally panicking since he has been dreaming for a few hours. He tells her about the scary guy who tried to end him for no reason. Then he stops mid-sentence and his heart skips a beat. Ragnar is just chilling against the wall, listening with a very curious look. Ragnar asks with a chilly tone if that is how he is telling the story. Taiho starts sweating buckets. Luckily, Hela jumps in before things get too awkward. She points at Ragnar and announces he is going to be Taiho's brand new coach. Taiho looks at her like she is crazy, saying he is already on her team. Ragnar grumbles that he did not sign up to babysit and has better things to do. Hela explains that since Taiho unlocked God mode, she has taught him all she knows. Her lessons were mostly book stuff, and he needs a teacher with real-world experience. Ragnar looks Taiho over and says, "It is almost funny such a skinny guy has divine power." He jokes that even his own kids could probably pull that off easily. If that is all Taiho can do, then there is really nothing worth training here. Hela says he will be changing his mind in about 5 seconds. She bets he will beg to train Taiho and tells the kid to show off his stats. Taiho is still a bit lost, but pulls out the magic feather to show his saga. The saga of the Undying Warrior appears glowing with all that Dragon Knight history. Seeing this leaves Ragnar totally stunned. The big tough guy actually goes silent. Finally, he asks what Taiho did before passing. He has officially exceeded all expectations. Hela asks how powerful Taiho could become if he fully maxes out this saga. Ragnar thinks it over and says maybe he could reach Sigurd level. Hela explains that Sigurd is basically the ultimate greatest warrior of all Valhalla. Hela looks him in the eye, asking if he will help Taiho reach the top. Ragnar gives him a big friendly hug, saying he is in. Hela says just do not break him. With that, she's out leaving Taiho in Ragnar's capable hands. Outside, Ragnar admits he's truly blown away. He never imagined a guy like Taiho existed. His potential is insane. Now we see Ciri smiling as she joins her old squad. She finds Roll, who proudly shares his promotion to lower-class warrior. Roll checks the roster, but Ciri notes one person is still missing. Right on schedule, Taiho strolls up with a cool, calm grin. He greets everyone warmly while they stare back with total admiration. And why wouldn't they? He's the legendary hero who rode a Valkyrie. Taiho gets flustered by the attention and asks Ciri what she told them. Siri just smirks and points at Roll, blaming the whole thing on him. Suddenly, a Valkyrie arrives to see if the whole team has gathered. Her name is Gandra, rocking silver hair and emerald green armor. As an Ulra Legion warrior, she explains this is just a minor mission. The team consists of lower-ranked warriors from the Ol and Amon legions. She warns them that a small mission is no excuse to slack off. The warriors groan, asking if anything here is ever actually easy. Gandra laughs, saying she can't let them be lazy all the time. Taiho notes how relaxed everyone is. It feels surprisingly human and friendly. Gandra gathers everyone to explain their upcoming mission. When Roll asks for their destination, Gandra's playful smile vanishes. She reveals they're heading to Svartalfheim, the home of dark elves. It's the land of eternal night where massive trees block the sun. With rotting leaves everywhere, it's a forest that's completely forgotten the sunshine. They step through the portal, and Taiho immediately senses a change. The air feels thick and damp with shadows lurking everywhere. Gandra explains that dark elves usually provide medicinal herbs to Valhalla. But a local accidentally woke a basilisk, the terrifying king of serpents. The elves need backup, and Gandra is deploying the Silent White. Everyone cheers, leaving a clueless Taiho wondering what's next. He assumes it will be just as wild as his recent adventures. He asks Siri, but she just tells him to wait and see. Suddenly, a pack of white wolves appears, and they aren't normal pets. These wolves are huge. Everyone mounts up and races into the woods. These wolves are incredibly fast, yet perfectly silent. Gandra notices Taiho is a natural rider and gives a compliment. He's glad his Dragon Commander skills are finally useful on the ground. Gandra heads to meet the council, leaving Siri in total command. She says the wolves know the way before vanishing into the trees. After hours of riding, they finally reach a well-hidden village. A dark elf named Taller meets them to lead the way. Taiho finally sees the dark elves' striking gray skin and silver hair. He quickly notices the locals aren't exactly thrilled to see them. He sees suspicious glares and hears hushed whispers all around. Kids peek from doors like they're looking at weird space aliens. Taiho activates his legendary dragon eyes to spot any hidden threats nearby. Most guests look totally neutral, but Toller radiates a super friendly vibe. Reaching a massive mansion, they pass through giant gates into a silent hall. Toller opens the door, revealing a room with a truly epic feast waiting. Attendants wait behind chairs as delicious food covers every single surface. Seated at the head is an elderly elf wearing a very warm smile. Meet Malice, the big boss of the Molo family, and the village leader. As everyone takes a seat, Ralph is already eyeing those fancy drinks hungrily. Malice raises his glass, prompting the guys to give Siri their best puppy eyes. Though she usually forbids alcohol, Siri surprises them by saying one sip is fine. With the long trek over the room, cheers as Taiho raises his cup too. Suddenly he freezes. He yells for everyone to stop and starts snatching their cups. He grabs the mugs before they sip, shouting for everyone to bolt for the exit. After one look at Siri, she orders a retreat, but Malice commands the seal. Taiho's dragon eyes reveal the main hall is now crawling with hidden enemies. Elven archers are aimed and ready, so Siri quickly orders everyone to raise shields. Arrows rain down, but Taiho spots the elves moving to block their only exit. To avoid being trapped, he sprints forward and drops 2 guards to hold the way. Malice watches in total shock, wondering how his master plan fell apart so fast. After clearing the guards, Taiho spins around and delivers a massive bone-crushing kick. The door completely shatters. He yells for everyone to run, and they start booking it. Racing through the courtyard, Siri pulls out a golden whistle and gives a loud blast. The Silent Whites charge out from the shadows. She tells the team to climb quickly. Those dark elf archers are hot on their heels, prepping another deadly volley of arrows. As the arrows fly, our hero Taiho steps up with a clever plan. Rolling up his sleeves, he reveals mysterious golden runes glowing brightly on his arms. It turns out Helga drew these on him during their intense training sessions. This is rune engraving, a super cool way to channel high-level magic. The total power output depends on just how big and complex the runes are. Permanent tattoos are too risky since body space is a very limited resource. So Helga gave him temporary ones that are just perfect for his training. Even temporary, they pack a serious punch as his skin begins to glow brightly. Taiho shouts G, a massive golden aura explodes all around him. Every arrow aimed at him is instantly shattered into pieces in midair. The dark elves freeze, looking completely shocked by his incredible display of power. Suddenly, heavy footsteps echo as a furious Malice comes charging into the scene. He screams at his men, ordering them not to let the group escape. But then Malice collapses to his knees, trembling while clutching his head in despair. He wonders how everything went so wrong when his plan was supposed to be perfect. The team finally gets far enough away to stop and catch their breath. Some worry if it is safe here, but honestly, they have no other choice. Even their loyal wolves are panting hard after that absolutely crazy sprint. Sadly, that is not the only problem they have to worry about right now. Although they blocked most of the arrows, a few still found their marks. Luckily, the wounds are not fatal, and everyone will survive to fight another day. If another brawl breaks out, they're in big trouble, as the team starts yanking arrows out of their bodies. One guy spots some funky, dark liquid in his blood and, believe it or not, takes a taste. Talk about bad luck. It turns out those arrows were totally dipped in poison. A soldier asks Ciri if they can take a quick breather to patch up their wounds. But she's just scratching her wolf's ears and shaking her head. It's first aid on the go today. No time for pit stops. They've got to find Valkyrie Gandor. Meanwhile, back at the manor, poor Malice is still shivering on his knees when a guy wrapped in purple flames appears. A voice booms that he failed. The elderly elf bows low, begging for a second chance. Fully desperate now, he starts screaming for a massive level up. He's begging for the basilisk's strength, promising they'll be totally unstoppable with it. The fiery figure just chuckles and says nope. But then the voice adds a twist, telling him not to sweat it because they figured he'd fail from the start. They had a plan B all along. Now let's check on our heroes escaping the heat. Ralph turns to Taiho, asking if his special eyes tipped him off about those sneaky elves. Taiho just nods, thanking Ciri for having his back, without any questions. If he'd stopped to explain his skills back then, it would have been game over. Ciri flashes him a friendly little smile and tells him, "Trusting your battle buddies is just common sense in a pinch," but then her expression shifts. She freezes as a glowing red portal starts swirling right behind the group. She shouts for everyone to prep for a fight. But before they can blink, the guy in the rear gets skewered by a massive blade. He's hoisted right into the air as chaos breaks loose. The team is totally stunned. What's really creepy? The owner of that blade hasn't even stepped through the portal yet. One thing is certain, whatever this is, it's definitely not human. It's got this nasty, sickly green skin. Taiho uses his dragon vision and sees something terrifying. Meet the neighborhood nightmare, a high-level monster named Regenerator Marcos. Two of the guys lose their cool and charge thirsty for some payback for their friend. It actually works at first. Their blades sink deep right into the monster's chest. But that was Marcos's plan all along. With one swift strike, both warriors are toast. That's 3 allies down in under 10 seconds. Talk about an overpowered boss. The group is terrified, but they really lose it when those deep gashes start closing. The monster's skin heals perfectly, leaving no scars. Ciri screams, "It's a regenerator." She yells for everyone to mount their wolves and bolt, but Marcos is lightning fast. Before they can move, he lunges and massive snakes sprout right out of his arms. In the blink of an eye, they've coiled tightly around the wolves. The poor wolves freak out, bucking all the warriors right off their backs. Ciri leaps back narrowly, avoiding a venomous chomp, but Marcos is already on her tail. He's relentless and fast. Just as he's about to strike, Ciri activates her special ability. But wait, something's changed. Her arrows are glowing with a fierce red light. A swarm of arrows appears hovering in midair. She launches a volley, and everyone lands. They shred through Marcus's body in a way that would normally end anyone. But he couldn't care less. He leaps up, prepping an aerial attack while still airborne. Ciri whips out 2 daggers just in the nick of time to parry his strike. But she's too distracted by his swords to notice the gnarly claw heading for her face. The impact sends her soaring, and she's knocked out cold before she hits the ground. Witnessing the chaos, Ralph acts before Ciri gets hurt. He lets an arrow fly. Talk about a big bang. Ralph grabs Ciri and dashes off at record-breaking speeds. He feels Marcos looming like a scary shadow. Suddenly, Marcos pauses. Taiho is launching a surprise attack. The monster blocks, giving Ralph a chance to escape. Taiho politely informs everyone that this monster is his fight. The creature smirks, blocking as if he predicted everything. He summons snakes that weave through the air. Taiho is ready, slicing those scaly pests into pieces. He charges forward for a stylish follow-up attack. Oddly, the monster stops trying to defend itself. It relies purely on its unfair healing factor. Taiho shifts gears, glowing with a brilliant golden light. He lands a clean slash straight through Marcos's body. The bright light makes the scene feel cinematic. Nearby, Ralph keeps watch while Ciri starts to recover. He warns Taiho that simple stabs won't stop him. Their eyes meet as the creature turns back. Despite a massive wound, the monster feels nothing. This arrogant guy smiles as if he is invincible. Taiho stands firm with his golden aura shining. The regenerator actually hesitates. Taiho recalls a vital lesson taught by Master Ragnar. Divine power is for more than just healing up. Used correctly, it can actually cancel out a blessing. However, he cannot afford to waste this precious energy. Ragnar advised activating it only for fatal strikes to save stamina. Blood spills as Taiho readies for another round. Taiho breathes and takes his fighting stance. Marcos clenches his fists in pure frustration. Both charge to settle this once and for all. Their blades clash, creating sparks in the dark. Marcos is losing ground, leaving Ralph completely speechless. Taiho is overwhelming an opponent that seemed unstoppable. Siri is impressed but still worried. Fighting solo means he will tire out quickly. Eventually, his energy will run out, causing trouble. Siri rushes in, trusting her gut feeling. Marcos finds an opening and swings with total fury. Taiho dodges that deadly strike just in time. 1 second later and he would be dead. He leaps back to create some space. He immediately counterattacks the moment his feet land. The monster raises steel. He's winding up for a massive downward swing to catch Taiho off guard. But don't worry, our hero has a little plan. Stepping forward, that golden aura starts glowing like a neon sign. It is time to wrap this battle up. Oh no, he missed something. Those sneaky regenerators actually laid a clever trap. It happened so fast, his tail whips out like lightning and stabs Taiho in the stomach. He could not even blink. Honestly, if it were not for Eden's blessing, he would be toast right now. Of course, the regenerator is not the type to wait around politely. He rushes Taiho, raising his blade for a final crushing blow. Talk about a tough day. Suddenly, Siri leaps in, blocking that lethal strike at the very last second. What a save. The blade just grazes Taiho's side, barely missing him. Even the monster looks totally shocked. Siri admits she does not have the power to hurt him, but she can definitely keep pushing him back. Seeing the perfect opening, Taiho puts every ounce of his strength into one final epic move. He drives his blade straight into the regenerator's stomach with perfect precision. Then he leaps up and delivers a skull crusher that finally puts this foe down for good. Looks like this regenerator's finally out of lives. Talk about irony. Over in the elf village, everyone is scratching their heads. How did their invincible warrior actually lose? These villains are really determined to take down our favorite guy, are they not? So the mysterious purple entity decides it is time to let Malice unleash the terrifying basilisk. Meanwhile, Taiho is out like a light and the whole crew is scrambling to wake him up. Ralph looks at Siri, totally panicked. What are they supposed to do if Taiho will not wake up? Stay and wait. No way. Siri has a bad feeling and orders everyone to move out right now. They have got to clear out and find Gander before things get even messier. She mentions that it is actually better if they do not all stick together in one big group. Right then, a terrifying sound echoes through the air, sending shivers down everyone's spines. Ralph whispers in fear, "Oh boy, it is the basilisk." Siri gets the direction and tells the team to scatter and find Gander immediately. The warriors get a bit dramatic, promising to meet up in Valhalla if they do not make it. Siri shuts down the sappy goodbye pretty fast and tells them to just start running. Ralph asks the big question, what is the plan for poor unconscious Taiho? She tells him to leave Taiho in her capable hands and just get a move on. He wishes her the best of luck and disappears into the distance like a pro. Siri kneels by Taiho as a pretty pink light begins to swirl all around her. Using her wolf witch power, she turns into a wolf, grabs Taiho, and bolts for the trees. Wow, she is really on a mission to get him to safety, is she not? A while later, a dreamlike voice calls to Taiho. He wonders if it is Hela reaching out. But when his eyes flutter open, he finds Siri right there, hovering super close to his face. That definitely wakes him up. His face turns bright red as he fumbles for something to say. But his brain is complete mush, and the words just come out in a hilarious, scrambled mess. Siri quickly covers his mouth, whispering for him to stay perfectly still and keep quiet. That is when he notices the huge, terrifying monsters surrounding them on every side. Talk about a wake-up call. Siri explains she had to stay close so her goddess's veil would keep them both invisible. One wrong move and the spell breaks, and that would be the end of their little adventure. Taiho asks the obvious question, why did she not just leave him and save herself? She stays quiet for a moment, just looking at him with those mysterious eyes. Then she looks away and admits that he actually has something pretty special about him. Very few warriors awaken that kind of power, and Valhalla really needs him around. She admits she loves being his battle partner. Those words really tug at Taiho heartstrings. It brings back memories of his former crew and the unbreakable bond they shared. But this is real life, not a game. He refuses to fail those who believe in him. Just as he opens his mouth, Siri huffs and folds her arms with a playful pout. She teases him about being a sleepyhead, claiming she tried every trick to wake him. Taiho turns bright red. Before he gets flustered, Siri shifts into serious warrior mode, scanning the trees. Since our hero is finally alert, it is time for them to get a move on. She sparks her saga once more, transforming into a magnificent, massive wolf. Taiho calls upon his dragon commander, Saga, sharing his legendary power with Siri. A cool blue aura boosts her senses, revealing a crowd of monsters lurking in the shadows. Suddenly, a swarm of snakes lunges from the brush in a coordinated strike. Taiho slashes through the first wave, but he gets a sudden creepy feeling that something huge is near. The earth begins to tremble as trees are tossed aside like toothpicks. Something big is coming. A giant shadow looms ahead. It is that grumpy basilisk back for round 2. Ciri shouts a quick warning, "Do not look at its eyes or you will turn to stone." The beast strikes, Ciri zips away while Taiho pulls off a perfectly timed leap. They regroup to face the monster, but the creature is already locking its gaze onto them. The basilisk snarls, oozing nasty green venom from its deadly fangs. Then it blasts a huge wave of toxic sludge right at our duo. Thinking fast, Taiho raises his hand to unleash the hidden magic etched into his arm. The venom vanishes, instantly purified by a burst of holy energy. Ciri soars into the air, and Taiho follows close behind with his Storm Warrior Saga active. He uses Ciri back as a springboard, but oops, he accidentally catches the basilisk gaze. The monster stare takes hold, leaving Taiho totally frozen in the middle of his jump. He is not done yet. He calls on his inner strength for a mental tug of war. It is a showdown between the monster petrifying gaze and Taiho divine willpower. Seeing an opening, he draws a golden lance with his warrior blade Saga and finishes it off. Ciri shifts back to human form, totally exhausted, while Taiho struggles to stay upright. She politely suggests that maybe it is time for a quick breather. Before he can agree, Taiho notices a mysterious sword buried in the fallen monster. He pulls it out with high hopes, only to find a useless broken hilt. Talk about bad luck. Before he can complain, Ciri yells that they are surrounded by a new pack of enemies. They stand back to back, ready for a fight, even though their energy tanks are nearly empty. Ciri tells him to run while she stays behind, but our hero is not leaving his friend. He glows with runic magic, declaring that they are leaving together or not at all. They strike a cool pose as the monsters charge in from every single direction. They are knocking down baddies left and right, but the sheer numbers are getting overwhelming. To make matters worse, another massive basilisk decides to crash the party. Just as Taiho wonders if things can get worse, Ciri drops a major bombshell. That big scaly guy brought a bunch of friends with him this time. Right behind him, the rest of the monster squad steps out of the shadows. Our favorite duo is totally boxed in now, and things are looking a bit spicy. Ciri frantically looks for an exit, but every path is blocked by hungry monsters. Taiho watches the creeping shadows, and his face shows he knows exactly what time it is. He readies himself for an epic final stand as the spooky forest closes in on them. Ciri asks if he has any fight left. Taiho stays silent. He reaches for that godly energy once more, but it is totally dry. He admits his tank is empty with only 2 charges remaining. Not good. Things look grim, but Taiho grips his blade and readies for one last stand. If the end is near, he is going out with a bang. Ciri smiles, loving his warrior spirit and never say die attitude. They will face the music together, standing tall until the very end. Invoking their gods, they prepare. Suddenly, a mysterious shadow shifts behind the monsters. The silent whites make their stealthy entrance. A voice yells, "They have got backup. It is Ralph, and he brought friends." A figure strikes from above, slicing a beast perfectly in 2. It is Valkyrie Gandler, looking absolutely legendary and ready for battle. Before they can cheer, she screams for them to stay sharp. A basilisk lunges at a weary Taiho who can barely lift his arm. He is helpless, but suddenly the monster is cleaved in 2 and falls. A new face appears, smiling while effortlessly spinning his sword. It is Ragnar. He promises they are safe now. Taiho shouts his name, totally relieved. Ciri's eyes practically pop out. She whispers his name, blushing hard as her inner fangirl takes over. Taiho grumbles. Who knew she was such a fan, but hey, duty calls. Ralph unleashes his saga, absolutely obliterating one of the basilisks. The path clears. Everyone charges with Gandler and Ragnar carving through the rest. Within seconds, the monster threat is completely neutralized. Ragnar declares victory, and the squad swarms him like a superstar. They are all starstruck, hardly believing they are meeting the living legend. Meanwhile, a beet red Ciri just stands there, totally frozen in awe. Taiho just watches, wondering, what is the big deal with this guy? Gandler steps forward, confirming the mission is a total success. She tells Taiho she saw him bag that regenerator and will inform headquarters. She praises him since taking down that beast was a huge achievement. With a sly wink, she notes that his talent definitely won't be ignored. Seriously, he is collecting Valkyries like they are pocket monsters. Suddenly, Taiho feels a wave of pure jealousy burning into his back. Every other warrior looks ready to fight him for that attention. A portal opens to Valhalla, where Helda checks out Taiho's new sword hilt. The runes are unreadable, but she confirms the item is truly one of a kind. It radiates ancient battle energy, so Taiho decides to keep it safe. He has a gut feeling this piece of junk is actually special. Helda claps, signaling it is time to report their findings to Idun. They grab a little boat and set sail toward the temple. During the trip, Helda hints that the goddess has a surprise waiting. Taiho is stoked. He has only ever received tiny buffs until now. He stands on the ceremonial seal, offers the golden apple, and kneels. The goddess appears beaming with joy as she thanks him for his service. They ruined the giant's plans and saved a lovely warrior. Not bad. Poor Taiho turns a bright shade of red. Chuckling, the goddess offers him a choice between two legendary gifts. Option 1, a cloak from Olympus that grants Pegasus flight. Option 2, a magical pouch with infinite storage space. Both are top-tier loot, but Taiho wisely chooses the pouch. Hela is shocked. She totally expected him to want wings. Taiho explains that a lone Pegasus is just a lonely horse. Since he is still a solo player, flight isn't practical. Besides, every pro gamer knows inventory space is the priority. Hela laughs at his logic and they head back together. She announces that his training with a new master starts today. Excited, she asks. Taiho just gives a nervous, shaky laugh. He knows the teacher is a bit of a bum, but the man is a living legend. Meanwhile, Ragnar is relaxing. Gazing up, Ragnar grumbles about the disgustingly pleasant weather today. Soon the two are sitting down for a little chat. Ragnar teases him about Hela making poor Taiho blush again. What is that supposed to mean? Taiho stammers at the trickster. Ragnar shrugs, claiming he only meant his combat progress. Mind out of the gutter, Ragnar jokes, earning a glare. Ragnar stands ready to teach the secrets of divine power. Since Taiho is a total newbie, they will start with fundamentals. He warns that there will be zero hand-holding here. Taiho must adapt quickly or get left in the dust. Come at me, Ragnar yells, but Taiho cannot land hits. Ragnar dares him to stop holding back and fight real. He explains that sagas are the soul of a warrior. Divine gifts are no excuse for slacking on your training. Ragnar throws insults to bait Taiho into a reckless rage. Taiho charges in blindly and ends up eating some dirt. Ragnar points out two major flaws Taiho needs to fix. First, he desperately needs a powerful offensive saga. He has many skills, but they are mostly for support. They are useful for utility, but they lack a real punch. While Taiho ponders an ultimate move, Ragnar drops a bomb. Second, he needs to reevaluate every single saga he owns. Taiho is baffled, so Ragnar explains his skills are incomplete. Low rankers think skills are static, but they actually evolve. A saga is a living story told across generations, and every storyteller puts their own unique spin on things. Enough for today, Ragnar says, walking off with a grin. One final tip. Keep that divine aura active 24/7. That means while eating, resting, and even while sleeping. Mastering this will skyrocket his mana capacity and stamina. By evening, Hela is cooking dinner, while Taiho keeps training hard. Spotting that silly grin, Ragnar asks Taiho if he has a surprise to share. Taiho just smirks and activates his legendary Warrior's Blade Saga skill. A basic sword appears, and he casually mentions he usually summons this one. Then he pulls out the shattered hilt and channels his saga power again. Like magic, the broken weapon restores itself into a magnificent full blade. Taiho explains that by channeling his saga through this specific hilt, it inherits relic-level stats, transforming into a piece of truly epic gear. Ragnar just stands there thinking, what is going on inside this guy's head? Is he seriously planning to use that as his ultimate move, he wonders? Maybe it is otherworld logic, but the guy thinks differently from everyone else. While they are processing this, Helba arrives carrying a very official scroll. She says Valkyrie Sigrid sent an urgent request for his immediate support. Sigrid is scouting Alfheim and found some seriously fishy activity going on. Taiho is shocked she requested him personally, but then gets super pumped. He thinks it is the perfect chance to give his new weapon a spin. Seeing that goofy grin, Helba pouts and asks if he missed Sigrid that much. Taiho realizes he fumbled the mood and insists it is nothing like that. But Helba is acting like a jealous wife, and he ruins it by asking to leave. Meanwhile, Ragnar is watching him thinking this guy's a total dork. The scene shifts to a spooky lair where villains watch everything through webs. A servant reports that the giants are moving and Valhalla sent more warriors. This mysterious villain gives a sinister smile, excited to see the coming chaos. Later, Taiho is back in Dark Elf territory, but he has brought company. The Wolf Legion got the call too, and a massive warrior approaches Taiho. He says, "So you are the famous Taiho. I have heard the stories. The guy is from Odin's Legion. He is lower rank, but running the show. He has 30 black horses ready since other legions sent their warriors too." While they are riding through the dark forest, Taiho starts feeling uneasy. Something feels off, and he wonders why he feels so uncomfortable right now. He tells himself he would much rather be riding a dragon or a silent white. Ciri hears that and starts cracking up at his sudden high standards. She says he has fancy taste now, but something is definitely lurking nearby. Ralph looks totally annoyed about something, and Taiho asks what is eating him. Ciri rolls her eyes, saying they ruined his vacation for this silly mission. The muscle guy shouts that the base is close, so pick up the pace. They are booking it at full speed when suddenly everything comes to a halt. Right in front of them, a massive pack of gnolls is blocking the road. Nasty monsters with glowing red eyes are staring at them from the shadows. Realizing they are about to be cut off, Ciri yells not to slow down. They charge headfirst into the pack, slicing and dicing through the furry mob. If they had hesitated for even 1 second, they would be monster food. They break through, but then a strange screeching sound echoes through the air. Someone points up, just as a squadron of harpies dives straight at them. Siri is busy swatting harpies, while Ralph is just trying to stay alive. The poor guy is struggling pretty hard to keep his head on. Taiho's Saga requires his crossbow, but things get dicey as he reaches for his hilt. Harpies circle overhead as a brilliant golden radiance begins to pulse from Taiho's body. Everyone's like, "What on earth?" Terrified by the holy light, the harpies start frantically retreating in every direction. Taiho invokes his warrior sword Saga, and the surge of energy restores his broken blade. Everything glows gold, radiating serious, overwhelming power. Panicked harpies flee as Taiho unleashes massive energy waves to push them all back. The team is stunned as he deletes every enemy with a single casual move. Taiho feels a bit awkward under their intense gaze. Luckily, the path is now wide open. As the group approaches their final destination, Odin's Legion commander turns to Taiho and says, "Welcome to the real battlefield." Taiho finally sees it. Down in that giant crater, a full-scale war is unfolding. Total chaos reigns with clashing metal everywhere. Siri wastes zero time and starts raining down arrows from her glowing magic bow. She never misses a shot. Target after target falls until she orders the final advance. Meanwhile, Taiho grips his shattered hilt and prepares to activate his warrior Saga again. However, instead of a sword, a massive crossbow manifests in his hands. He pulls the trigger, firing triple arrows that vaporize everything in their path. Once again, everyone is just staring at him in complete disbelief. Taiho feels pretty confident now, thinking they will reach the center in no time. And he is right. After pushing through for several minutes, they finally reach the center. The Valkyrie Razgrid is right there, leading her troops in the heat of combat. Catching sight of Taiho, she smiles and says she is glad he made it. He gets right to business, asking for a status report on the battle. She replies quickly, saying things are nearly controlled, though a major problem remains. The enemy is using their version of steel rain to bombard them relentlessly. Suddenly, more trouble arrives. Razgrid looks up and screams for everyone to take cover. The sky fractures, but it's not rain, it's giant rocks crashing down. The boulders slam into the earth, creating massive craters and flattening the landscape. But the real nightmare is not the impact, it is what is hiding inside. Massive gnolls begin crawling out from the wreckage. Taiho shouts as another giant projectile zooms toward them. The rock narrowly misses the group, nearly crushing everyone into the dirt. Tensions are high as nobody knows what horror will step out of the rock. A sudden fireball streaks through the air, but it is heading a different way. It is flying directly toward the Dark Elf village. Razgrid rushes over, telling Taiho he must reach the Dark Elf village immediately. That fireball means they are likely under a heavy surprise attack. She says he is the only warrior she trusts to handle this crisis alone. Taiho nods, saying he will grab a horse and head out at once. She stops him, saying there is no time, and starts unfastening her cloak. Our boy blushes as she explains the cloak allows for a dragon transformation. She tells him to choose one trusted partner to accompany him. Taiho can already imagine the hilarious reactions once this news gets out. Without hesitating, he decides to give it to Siri. Moments later, they're soaring high over the messy battlefield. Watch out. A massive boulder almost squashes them as a new monster appears. This big guy is totally different from the giant at the Black Castle. Riskid notes that while he's smaller, his power level is through the roof. It makes sense as giants use runes just like our brave warriors. Their strength grows with every victory, and this guy has been on a rampage. His massive roar rattles the ground, even making the Valhalla warriors stumble. The giant triggers his special move, the Roar of Madness. Suddenly, every single monster nearby goes into a total berserker frenzy. Over at the elf village, Taiho and Siri find another giant waiting, but this one has a very different shape. Taiho realizes it's a mage, and yikes, it's already starting to cast. A nasty spell flies toward the village, so Taiho tells Siri to get closer. Time to tank. He swaps his crossbow for a lance to grab its attention. He throws it with all his might. Clang, it shatters against a magic shield as even more barriers pop up. The plan actually works, now the giant is staring them down. But that's even worse, magic is flying everywhere, putting the elves in danger. Looking down, Taiho knows if they don't wrap this up soon, the village will be toast and countless lives will be lost forever. Meanwhile, in another part of the Nine Realms, some drama is stirring. A mysterious man on a throne gets a tiny message from a pet harpy. Turns out that creepy spider lady's actually named Vault. She's the one who talked Malice into betraying the folks at Valhalla. It was all part of a sneaky quest to find the legendary seed. She's currently complaining about that spider being a total chicken and hiding out. There's a surefire way to get that seed, but everyone is just ignoring it. Her big idea, just burn everything down like they did in the old war. Now, who exactly is this fiery genius lady? Meet Harad, the giant of strength and one of Loki's top 5 generals. While Herod is cooking up villainous plans, our hero is just trying to survive. Taeho is working overtime back at the village to stay in one piece. Taeho decides if the giant is going to play catch, he will too. He activates his saga and summons a whole rainstorm of deadly spears. Oof, that annoying barrier is still up, so none of the spears get through. But he doesn't quit. They keep hurling magic and metal at each other. Spears hit spells, sparking massive explosions everywhere. Siri looks concerned, wondering if this plan is actually going to work. Taeho explains it like he's back in a video game. Just keep hitting the shield. Eventually, that health bar will drop, and it'll break. Back on the other battlefield, Riskid faces off against a massive giant. She knows this guy's a challenge, but as the boss, she's not budging. They both charge in and boom, a huge shockwave rattles the area. Meanwhile, Taeho is still stuck in his desperate fight. His plan isn't working just yet. Spears shatter against the shield, but our hero refuses to back down. He realizes they need to plan fast, or this village is history. Houses are blazing, and the poor elves are in a total panic. Suddenly, a quirky squad arrives wearing some seriously flashy glowing helmets. Taeho's jaw drops as they introduce themselves as the Dark Elf Fire Brigade. They tell him to handle the giant while they tackle the flames. The team raises their hands, summoning massive storm clouds out of nowhere. Down comes the rain, dousing every single fire in an instant. Peace lasts all of 2 seconds before the giant roars again. His magic shield vanishes because the rain is washing away his spells. Since he is a fire wizard, his big weakness just became super obvious. Taeho thanks the fire brigade mentally. They just gave him the perfect opening. He activates his saga, hurling his spear while Siri strikes from behind. Using the spear as a distraction, he finally unsheathes his legendary sword. He leaps into his final move, just like good old Ragnar taught. With his sync rate hitting 18%, he unleashes the ancestral dragon barrage. He blasts a massive hole through the giant and spots something strange. Deep inside sits a glowing emerald stone acting like a power core. Taeho calls for backup and Siri agrees to combine their powerful sagas. Siri goes first, wrapping her spear in shimmering dark purple energy. They charge together and the resulting explosion completely obliterates the giant. But just as they go to celebrate, things get even crazier. They are suddenly sucked into the blast like it is a hidden portal. The elves just stand there blinking as Taeho and Siri vanish completely. They wake up floating in a mysterious void humming with magical energy. Taeho looks around, wondering where they landed after defeating that giant. Siri stays cool, explaining that breaking the core opened a small portal. She senses powerful magic here, though it might just be leftover traces. The mention of traces from the Great War really gets Taeho's attention. Ever since finding that sword piece, he has been curious about ancient warriors. Now he is actually standing on the grounds where those legends once fought. He hopes to find more sword fragments and is ready to explore. When Siri's stomach growls, Taeho pulls out a feast from his pouch. Siri is amazed by his massive stash and asks if Idun provided it. He laughs, confirming the goddess Idun gave it to him as a reward. Siri sighs that this will be hard, leaving Taeho pretty confused. Turns out the Valkyrie Gondel really wants Taeho to join her legion. She thinks he is an incredible one-of-a-kind warrior who belongs with her, but seeing how Idun treats him, she won't be letting go easily. Taeho just chuckles to himself, knowing that is probably the honest truth. Besides, he can't leave Idun's legion while his friend Hilda is there. After finishing his meal, he stretches and says it is time to move. Siri asks how, since they have no clue where they actually are. He pulls out the sword hilt, hoping it might know the way. Standing at a cliff's edge, Taeho points his blade toward the horizon. Searcher keeps a close eye on him, totally confused by our protagonist's weird antics. Nothing happens yet. After giving Taeho a quick mental facepalm, Siri shifts back. They start wandering the empty void. While they walk, Siri mentions how things usually work back home in Grand Valhalla. It is actually quite rare for anyone to ask about their past life before they died. But she's super curious about Taeho. After all, his legendary sagas are just way too incredible. Taeho gets a bit shy and admits he was actually a world champion back when he was alive. She is totally stunned. Wait, so I have been walking beside a literal living legend this whole time. Then he pings his special ability again, and what he spots next completely blows his mind. They find a massive field overflowing with weapons, and these are definitely not your average swords. These are top-tier legendary items. Being a pro gamer, Taeho immediately flips his loot goblin switch on. He starts snatching up everything in sight: helmets, heavy swords, spears, and even giant shields. He even stuffs the broken bits into his magic bag. You never know when they might come in handy. Siri just stands there watching him, totally unsure whether she should laugh or cry at this point. She asks him if he is seriously planning to take all that damage gear with him too. He keeps right on looting, saying that of course he is, everything could be super useful later on. Suddenly he notices a fancy little belt glowing much brighter than all the other loot around them. This belt comes with some serious buffs. It provides a huge boost to both strength and endurance. Ciri notices the symbol on it and points out that the mark belongs to Freya's legendary legion. Taeho wonders who Freya is. She explains that Freya is the goddess of love, beauty, war, and magic. This makes Taeho wonder if the elven goddess is hiding some secret talents like that as well. He tells Ciri she should grab something for herself too, since all these items look pretty unique. She hesitates for a second, but then with a totally guilty look, she pulls out a shiny dagger. They keep walking until Taeho is finally satisfied, even though he looks silly in that crooked helmet. He even cracks a little joke about needing to make more room in his overcrowded magic bag. Suddenly, out of nowhere, the sword he looted from the basilisk starts vibrating like crazy. Taeho carefully pulls it out, and the glowing blade points directly toward a tiny mysterious dagger. He picks it up and asks Ciri if she has any clue why the sword was pointing there. She mentions that perhaps both of these weapons actually came from the exact same place. She thinks this world's people might have fought with Valhalla using weapons forged by the same hands. Taeho agrees that makes total sense. That explains why he could never trace the sword's origin before. So he takes the dagger as well, especially since the sword has already been incredibly useful. With their new loot all sorted out, the two of them finally continue their journey. After walking a bit further, they reach the edge of a massive crater that Ciri recognizes instantly. This is the legendary site where Odin's mighty army once fought a truly massive battle. She notices magic gathering in the center, where a giant skeleton is just chilling out. Ever since its owner kicked the bucket, who knows how long those bones have been lying there? When they go down to inspect it, Ciri asks Taeho if he can get any info on it. Taeho nods, saying he can see its name. This beast was the legendary hellhound Garm. Ciri starts to panic. She tells Taeho that they really need to get out of here right now. But just then, the scattered bones start gathering together in one single spot. A sudden surge of energy brings the beast right back to life with a massive burst of magic. The beast is now standing right in front of them, and he definitely did not come alone. He brought plenty of company. Soon the entire battlefield is swarming with dangerous monsters. Taeho grips his sword tightly, getting himself ready for the big battle ahead. Suddenly, something strange happens. The monsters ignore them completely and start fighting each other instead. Ciri was ready to book it right now. But Taeho catches her pointing at the mobs and saying they can't quit now. The boss raid is a must. Ciri really wanted to smack him, but she stayed polite. She sighed and told him to just hop on her back. Her master plan flies straight at that big guy with everything she has got. That meanie let out a deafening roar, but the real trouble was just starting. Lightning crashed down, Ciri lost her footing, and they both started falling. After they hit the dirt, Taeho asked if she was doing okay. That is when our hero realized he had landed directly on top of her. His face turned bright red as he apologized, swearing it was a total accident. Ciri said she was fine, but a swarm of monsters surrounded them instantly. Taeho started throwing hands to buy Ciri some time to get back on her feet. Once she stood up, they both charged straight toward the boss again. The boss unleashed a fire breath, but they dodged it without breaking a sweat. Since the boss was kind of a dummy, he started fighting his own minions instead. Taeho gave the signal, Ciri charged her mana and launched a volley of arrows. No real damage, but they sure got the big guy's attention. It tried to take a bite, but Ciri quickly went wolf mode and zoomed away. She yelled out that basic attacks were not going to cut it here. Taeho needed to go all in with his ultimate special ability. Activating Storm Warrior, he drew his legendary blade and called upon divine power. Golden energy surged through his sword as he landed a massive direct hit. Man, he really thought that was a critical hit that might take a leg off. But it was just a scratch. Ciri shouted for him to hop on her back again. Time to try that epic combo again. But the boss blocked them with more fire breath before they could get close. Taeho realized half-hearted moves would not work against a monster this tough. He asked Ciri for time while he used Dragon Eyes to scan for a weakness. Taeho noticed a status update under the boss's name. It said absolute defense. Right then, everything finally clicked for our hero. He noticed the boss had not budged an inch since the fight began. That could only mean one thing. The beast was definitely guarding something. Meanwhile, Ciri was busy putting her own pieces together. Basic hits failed, but maybe her wolf witch curse would do the trick. She leaped high and bit the boss, and wow, her hunch was totally right. The curse worked. The boss became a Grodon, but her stamina was hitting 0. She turned to Taeho and told him that whatever plan he had, he needed to do it fast because she was officially at her limit. Taeho just charged the mobs using his divinity to clear out the small fries. He realized the key was a strange rock wedged deep into the ground. He poured all of his legendary strength into yanking that thing out. The boss was charging right at him, getting dangerously close to a hit. He finally pulled it free and poof. The monster vanished into thin air. Taiho pointed at the hole where the crystal was and said, "There is our exit." She yelled for Taiho to hop on her back, and he jumped without hesitating. Right behind them, those spectral soldiers finished off the remaining beasties. A soldier calls out the win, and everyone starts cheering their heads off. Suddenly, someone wonders where our duo went. Then a soldier spots the glowing floor portal. The whole squad huddles around the gate and starts diving in headfirst. Smiles everywhere. One guy even yells that they are finally heading for Valhalla. Meanwhile, Razgrid and the big guy are still brawling like absolute maniacs. Neither side is budging. Then poof, the portal pops open and Taiho just drops right in. He sticks the landing, leaving Razgrid wondering how they made it back so quickly. The giant notices Taiho's shiny crystal and his eyes start glowing with greed. This big lug realizes that is the exact seed his king has been craving. He reaches out with a massive hand looking to swipe that treasure away. Razgrid screams for everyone to cover Taiho while she intercepts the giant's massive arm. And that is exactly when things get super interesting. She spots the spirits of legendary warriors, literally holding back that humongous hand. A ghostly soldier says they must join the fight. More ghost bros start flooding the field, and now the giant is feeling the heat. The ghostly captain asks Razgrid for permission to defend Asgard one more time. She does not miss a beat and gives them the green light. Once she says yes, the ghosts regain their physical forms and charge the giant. While the group handles the small fry, the giant lets out a thunderous roar. He tries to regroup, but Razgrid flies in, shouting that she is his only opponent. Ralph is totally confused, asking how Taiho and Ciri returned so incredibly fast. Taiho figures that time in that weird void must move at a totally different pace. Ciri is not interested in science class, though. She just wants to start smashing things. Taiho holds her back, saying they should target the big boss and leave the mobs. So she shifts into wolf mode, and they take to the skies again. Taiho notices Ciri is flagging since she is basically speedrunning 2 boss fights back to back. He tells her to relax, explaining they just need to annoy the giant, not kill it. He points out that Razgrid and the big guy are currently tied in power. A split-second distraction is all they need to tip the scales in their favor. Taiho kicks his skills into high gear and starts machine-gunning lances at the giant. After the third spear hits, the giant gets grumpy. He yells at Taiho, claiming those attacks do not even tickle his skin. He promises to personally hand-deliver Taiho to the underworld once Razgrid is finished. Taiho keeps chucking spears anyway. Ciri notes the giant is barely paying attention to you. Suddenly, Razgrid lunges, and the giant hyper-focuses on her, forgetting everything else. This was the golden opportunity Taiho was waiting for. He pumps divine energy into his lance and lets it fly with deadly precision. It slams into the giant's hand, ruining the massive ultimate move he was prepping. Razgrid seizes the moment, unleashes her goddess powers, and drops the giant for good. With the leader down, the monster army panics while our warriors get super hyped. They charge forward and mop up the remaining monsters without breaking a sweat. Taiho chills on a cliffside, officially declaring their victory. Then he just flops over, finally ready for a much-needed nap. Ciri watches him, thinking there is something truly special about this annoying guy. She clearly hopes he'll keep fighting by their side for a long time. With the battle finally over, it is time for the Ghost Warriors to head back. Their leader thanks Razgrid for the fight and asks for a guide back to Valhalla. Razgrid thanks them too, saying Valhalla will always welcome such brave souls home. She changes into a white outfit and summons the Bifrost to take them away. Before leaving, the warriors tell Taiho they will tell everyone how brave he was today. Razgrid tells the group she has got to bounce to lead the Ghost Warriors home. She promises that when they meet in the Great Hall, everyone will be recognized. Everyone is getting rewards, especially Taiho and Ciri, since their courage saved the whole day. Taiho walks up to her and politely hands her fur coat back. Razgrid turns to Ciri and asks what it was like carrying Taiho through everything. Ciri simply says she was just doing her duty. Before heading out, she mentions that Regenlife and Gondel will arrive soon to help. But before she goes, she walks up and gives Taiho a gentle forehead kiss. Taiho just freezes up as his heart starts pounding like crazy. He was already naming their future children when he finally turned his head. Then he saw that she had also kissed Ciri exactly the same. He realizes this kiss is just like the one Hela gave him before. It is just a standard Valkyrie ritual after all. Meanwhile, in the frozen wasteland of Jotunheim, things are getting seriously tense. Herja was totally pissed, but not because they lost the battle. She never cared about the result. It was just meant to drain Valhalla's strength. What really has her fuming is that the seed they were hunting for ended up in Taiho's hands. Now their secrets might finally be exposed. She is terrified of how the king is going to react now, when the envoy said not to worry since the king had not spoken yet. She suggested that maybe the king wanted this to happen all along. Some time passes, and 2 more Valkyries finally show up on the scene. They land near Taiho and Ciri, where he reports and shows the seed. Regenlife doesn't know what it is, but she is glad those bastards did not succeed. She takes the seed from Taiho and puts it in a fancy-looking chest. Then she gets in Taiho's face and kisses him on the forehead. Even though he's been through this, he still cannot help feeling flustered. Seeing Ciri getting the same treatment, he thinks maybe this is just normal here. He turns to Gondel and asks if she will not bless them too. She laughs and says few have the guts to ask a Valkyrie, but agrees. Taiho closes his eyes, thinking one more blessing cannot hurt his chances. He expects another forehead kiss, but Gondel surprises him with a kiss on the cheek. Taiho was on cloud 9 after that surprise. Just as the Valkyries are about to leave, guess who shows up, Hela? She arrives just in time to see that unique blessing Gondul just gave. With jealous eyes, she asks Taiho exactly what was happening here. Taiho tries to explain, but as always, he fumbles his words pretty hard. Ciri, watching from the sidelines, thinks these two are actually pretty amusing. Soon the transport is ready. Taiho climbs into a coffin for the trip, while Hela still refuses to let it go. Taiho's blessings were many, but he feared this one might actually finish him off. She leaned in close, tucked her hair, and gave him a very personal blessing. Both faces flushed bright crimson immediately. Meanwhile, near Yggdrasil's ancient roots, Odin and Thor shared a tense, silent walk. Odin showed Mimir the seed, asking if Fenrir sought it. Mimir confirmed it with a nod. It's a Garm soul fragment. Collect them all, and that beast returns to life. Odin scowled, muttering that this measly reward wasn't worth the massive headache. Thor asked if Garm served Fenrir. Mimir confirmed the dark connection. Garm's howl wakes Fenrir, who will break his chains and hunt Odin for sport. If that happens, the All-Father joins his ancestors very quickly. Meanwhile, in Jotunheim's frozen and desolate wastes, trouble's brewing. Smirking Loki tells Utgard Loki that those 5 generals are mobilizing now. He cackled like a madman, declaring the real war was finally starting. Back under Yggdrasil, Mimir warned that the giants don't need a fully resurrected Garm. One shard's howl is enough to trigger the total collapse of Ragnarok. Odin noted a specific saga user could potentially accelerate this looming apocalypse. Thor's fists clenched. He knew exactly which traitorous snake they were discussing. Loki, that sneaky backstabbing jerk. Instantly, Odin handed the shard to Thor, ordering its total destruction. Despite its immense power, Odin had already made his final call. Erasing the risk buys time. Meanwhile, our lovely goddess has finally returned. Our hero reported to the temple, where she showered him with praise. She'd heard all of Valhalla's warriors chanting his name in glory. Idun flashed a radiant, heart-melting smile, then announced his well-earned reward. Taiho beamed excitedly. He wanted that Pegasus cloak badly, but Idun had a different plan today. She giggled, telling him it was time for another tough choice. Once again, she'd prepared 2 incredible gifts for her favorite champion. First, the Pegasus cloak he'd been dreaming about for so long. Second, a legendary saddle for riding any creature regardless of its strength. Limits, none. His mind raced with endless epic possibilities. He imagined soaring as a massive falcon with a lucky passenger, exiting the temple moments later. He ran into Hela and Ragna, who were waiting nearby. His face gave it away. He'd definitely picked something legendary. Ragna suggested more training, but Hela stepped in to block the idea. She insisted they rest after the front lines instead of overworking. Suddenly, Taiho recalled something important. Skipping training, he asked for their help with a different task. At his cabin, Taiho began revealing a strange pile of junk. He'd scavenged these odd items from the god's battlefield recently. Ragna looked baffled and burst out laughing. She teased him, asking if he'd become a professional scavenger. Most items were just rusty, broken, and looked completely worthless. Helda steps up and gently brushes one of the shattered blades. She whispers that she can still feel a faint, magical pulse. Ragna nods, suggesting they return the gear to its original legion. Taiho's all in, and the team starts the big search. They begin analyzing the ancient runes and unique forging marks. Every Valhalla unit leaves a distinct soul print on their steel. Time passes until Helda stops dead before a strange dagger. After a quiet moment, Ragna doubts it belongs to any unit. It might just be a legendary outlier like Taiho's own sword. Grinning, Taiho grabs the blade and pours in his energy. The symbols glow blue, but then the light suddenly fades. Just as he lets go, spectral images dance across the wall. They see a nameless warrior braving waves toward a cursed isle. She claims to have finally found this mythic hidden realm. She enters a dark fortress paved with mountains of bone. Terrible stories about the Shadow Queen haunt her every step. Legends claim she feasts on souls and bathes in blood. But this warrior won't judge until they meet face to face. The queen is actually kind and accepts her as a pupil. Years of training follow under her new master's watchful eye. After surviving brutal trials, it is finally time to depart. Her teacher gifts her a spear made from sea monster bone. Armed with that weapon, she became an unstoppable force. That is, until she crossed paths with that snake Loki. He crushes her easily, then mocks her lost family and friends. Everything she ever loved has been burned to cold ash. As Loki turns away, she lunges for one final desperate strike. But the god was merely playing with his broken prey. With a single glance, he shatters her spear and her spirit. The vision ends, leaving the group in a heavy silence. Ragnar speaks up, identifying these as memories of the hero Shu. He explains Shu was the strongest soul of her fallen world. Her power rivaled even the legendary Sigurd of Valhalla lore. Taiho is stunned, but spots something strange on the hilt. The name Geibolg is now clearly etched into the metal. Ragnar realizes why his partner's power failed to work earlier. He warns Taiho not to touch that cursed thing again. A dangerous geese protects it, leaving Taiho confused by the term. These are soul bindings that trade massive power for sacred oaths. Since Shu's will was unbreakable, the binding remains incredibly fierce. This spiritual weight might be too heavy for Taiho to carry. The blade might reject him, yet Taiho feels a strange bond. It felt like the spear was challenging him to reach higher. Simply holding the weapon isn't enough. He must prove his worth. Ragnar smirks, noting that he finally sounds like a real warrior. Back at the house, the scene finally shifts home. Taiho politely asks Held where he can find a mount. Nothing fancy is needed, just a reliable ride for the road. And get this, the sneaky guy picked a saddle for Ciri. He'd better keep quiet, or she might actually end him. Held mentions that Idun's legion lacks an official designated mount. Ragnar suggests a Vanaheim horse, then quickly changes his tune. Is a simple ride enough? A warrior needs much more. Why don't they just go and catch one themselves? There's a border spot absolutely teeming with wild, fierce griffins. Taiho could capture his very own special mount right there. Held loves the idea and joins, even inviting Ciri along. Ciri actually awakened her divine aura through her contact with Taiho. Our favorite fangirl was struggling being so near her idol. She couldn't show weakness, but she was at her limit. Ragnar showed no mercy during their long, intense aura training. He finally decides it's enough and lets them rest now. Peering out the window, he tells Held they should camp. They head riverside to roast up some juicy, delicious steaks. While serving Ciri, he suggests she join Idun's legion too. That way he could keep teaching her all day long. Ciri blushes but declines, staying loyal to her current legion. By morning, they reach the jagged cliffs where griffins roam. Ragnar has held prep bait by magically scenting their horse. Griffins love horse meat, and 3 soon strike the bait. Ragnar decides to just watch the action from the sidelines. Ciri and Taiho are already shifting into their battle modes. She readies her crossbow while Taiho pulls out his cloak. He transforms into a falcon, shocking both of the girls. They expected an epic ride and looked a bit disappointed. He notices and realizes he should have suggested a heroic entrance. Held gets shy and insists it's nothing like that at all. So Taiho faces 3 griffins and 1 beast locks on. Taiho proves he has got some serious brain cells too. Instead of going berserker, he plays it smart and dodges. While the bird brain chases Taiho, Ciri lines up her shot. She notches 3 arrows tipped with a nasty paralyzing poison. Bullseye, all 3 arrows hit the mark. 1 griffin down. But Taiho wants more than regular birds. He wants something special, and suddenly a massive roar erupts. The alpha griffin has entered the chat, folks. This thing is massive, easily double the size of others. Ragnar is waiting for his meat when a thought occurs. He wonders if those rascals started the feast without him. He goes to check, but the group has already won. Ragnar nods, saying the traps are set. Now we just wait for the big boss to arrive. Taiho saddles up his griffin and takes off, soaring high into the clouds. Suddenly, the local birds scatter in total panic. Something massive is coming. Get ready! Ragnar shouts, tossing Taiho a glowing enchanted rope. It's designed to drain strength. Then the alpha lunges. Wow, that bird has some serious speed. It's a complete blur. Being airborne makes Taiho's job 10 times harder right now. The alpha strikes, but our hero pulls a pro gamer move and dodges in mid-flight. He shifts into a falcon instantly. The griffin is totally confused by the switch up. The beast shrugs it off. Hawk meat works too, and it thinks charging back in for more. Taiho waits for the perfect moment, then pops back into human form mid-air. Moving fast, he sticks the landing on its back and loops the magic rope tight. Trust me, this feisty beast isn't quitting. It starts thrashing around like crazy. It's thinking, no way a tiny human beats me, but Taiho is a handful and that enchanted rope is finally starting to do its thing. Sensing the opening, Taiho finally unsheathes his trusty sword for the finisher. His character sync is now at 20%. He's leveling up faster than ever. With his upgraded blade, he triggers a special skill called the Blacksmith Saga. His sword transforms into a giant heavy-duty warhammer. He swings high and slams the rope, tripling its power in one massive burst. The griffin tries to fight back, but its strength is completely drained. It's game over. Taking the lead, Taiho activates his Dragon Commander Saga skill. The griffin settles down. Honestly, it looks like it's actually enjoying the vibe. He actually tamed it. Down on the ground, the whole crew goes wild. Taiho lands with his new bestie and introduces him. Everyone meet Rollo. Helda perks up at a strange noise, and everyone scans the horizon for trouble. An emergency flare lights up the sky. Ragnar frowns. 2 signals mean serious trouble. That means our allies nearby are taking a heavy beating. Helda suggests splitting up. She shifts into her swan form and tells Ciri to hop on. She flies off with a warning, "Don't do anything dumb. Taiho, stay safe." "Don't sweat it," Taiho replies as Ragnar climbs onto Rollo's back. Taiho's thinking, "Wow, Rollo is surprisingly shredded for a bird." They rush toward the fight, clearing the mountain peaks in record time. Below them, the lush forest has been completely leveled. It's a total mess. Through the smoke and rubble, they finally spot the source of the chaos. 2 massive giants are brawling with the warriors of Valhalla. Brak, the heavy hitter from Thor's Legion, is holding the front line solo. A giant charges with a massive axe, but Brak meets the blow with pure muscle. Ragnar dives off Rollo flares his divine aura and deletes that giant instantly. Talk about a grand entrance. The whole battlefield starts cheering for the legend. With Ragnar here, everyone knows the win is basically in the bag. Not wanting to be left out, Taiho orders Rollo to dive bomb the last giant. He slams into the beast with perfect timing, giving Brak the perfect opening. Brak begins to glow and shatters the giant's axe with a single epic strike. He leaps into the air and delivers a finishing blow that ends the fight. The crowd goes wild for Ragnar just like always. Then Brak arrives and everyone breaks into a brand new chant. The crowd realizes the legendary Valkyrie rider is finally here. They chant that title, making Tio wish they would stop. He lands and Brak greets Taihaho with a massive grin. Excited warriors swarm asking what kind of Valkyrie he rode. Tio has to confess it was just a male griffin. You could practically hear their hearts sink as dreams vanished. Brak stops the fun saying there is no time left. Another squad needs help because the war never takes breaks. Ragnar gets serious and asks for the full report now. Brak says they found a soul fragment before the ambush. To make matters worse, the fragment was not just sitting. It was lodged in a giant boar's skull boosting power. It turns out those big guys actually started using brains. Instead of a mindless charge, they split into 3 teams. 2 squads distracted the forces while the 3rd chased Boar. Time to roll. Ragnar leaps onto the griffin and signals. Brak declines, pulling tiny magic bones out of his pouch. After some magic words, the bones rebuild into a ram. Ragnar recognizes the legendary Tangrisnir and shows deep respect. At Brak's command, the tiny ram begins an epic transformation. Brak says this sacred mount is a relic from Thor. Ragnar tells the warriors to stay and help the wounded. They track the giant's trail with Tangrisnir keeping a pace. Ragnar is impressed by how fast this divine goat moves. A few minutes later, the enemy group comes into view. The giants down the boar, but the crystal remains free. Ragnar counts 4 giants and 100 orcs blocking him. He calmly says he will solo the giants alone today. Benny charges in while Hela and Ciri wrap their fight. Ciri asks if they should hurry and help Taihaho too. Hela stays cool, knowing Ragnar has everything under control now. Suddenly, the sky splits open as a blinding light falls. It looks like a falling meteor. But as it nears, Hela sees it is definitely not. She knows whatever is inside is far beyond their level. Shifting into her swan form, she urges Ciri to return. Back at the fight, the orcs panic as Tangrisnir charges. The mighty ram begins trampling every orc in its way. Even the grittiest orcs look at each other in confusion. The orcs are like, are we actually doing this? Ragnar shouts for Tio to secure the boar before time. Taihaho spots dark mages performing a ritual around the beast. He dives from high, activating his new Storm Warrior style. And boy, our hero basically transforms into a walking human lightning rod. Electricity dances across his skin, sending bolts flying in every direction. Those poor mages are getting absolutely wrecked. Brak spots the action and decides to join the party. Orcs try to block him, but his spinning axe clears the path. He's releasing massive energy waves that just obliterate everything nearby. Taiho is watching, thinking Brak is truly an unstoppable force. Then things get crazy when that meteor finally creates a crater. Through the heavy dust and smoke, a mysterious figure emerges. She wears a smile that makes your skin crawl instantly. With chilly eyes, she scans the battlefield. This is Herod. A top general of the Giant King, her presence freezes everyone. No one dares to move, except Tangoster, who's a total legend. He walks right up to her, even catching Herod by surprise. He tries a punch, but Herod casually erases it with ease. Everyone is frozen in shock, especially a very confused Taiho. Now Herod turns toward Brak, who is paralyzed with pure fear. She raises a hand, blasting Brak with a massive energy wave. But then she laughs, shocked to see a familiar face here. It's Ragnar blocking the hit. This reunion is definitely not friendly. Ragnar calmly notes it's been ages since she left her fortress. Herod mocks him, saying the great warrior has finally gone soft. She jokes that his decline almost brings tears to her eyes. Ragnar is just stalling so Taiho and Brack can safely escape. Suddenly, the boar with the soul fragment wakes back up. It blasts energy and charges Herod, giving Ragnar a perfect opening. He yells at Brack, who is still dazed from the blast. Taiho flies in, ready to offer Ragnar a helping hand. Instead, Ragnar tosses Brack to Taiho and tells them to run. Taiho is worried, asking what Ragnar plans to do next. Ragnar's aura blazes as he gives a simple command: watch, because Taiho is about to witness a true living legend. The man who sailed unknown seas and never lost a battle. There is a reason his name is whispered through the generations. He's about to see high-level combat in this new realm. This is their new reality as Ragnar activates his myth saga. And this is the big one. King of Vikings Ragnar Lothbrok's. Even the boar is sweating bullets, knowing what is coming next. Herod charges her fist and drives it into the boar's skull. She is completely wiping the creature out of existence. Only the glowing crystal fragment remains in the debris. Herod reaches for it, but her danger sense suddenly kicks in. She dives to the side just in the nick of time. Turning back, she sees Ragnar radiating a massive energy storm. She flashes a savage grin and charges thrilled to see Ragnar's true power. Now the real showdown begins as they trade massive blows. Those shockwaves are absolutely massive, vibrating all the way to Taiho. Even from way back on his griffin, he can feel the ground shaking. Herod notes that, while Ragnar is weaker, he is still quite the prize. His head would make the ultimate trophy for the Giant King. Only 10 seconds have passed, but things are getting really intense. Every blow they trade carries enough power to level whole armies. The watching warriors decide it is time to find a safer spot. Ragnar realizes he is gassing out and gambles on one final strike. He weaves past her attack and swings his blade with everything, but she slips away at the last second, totally unharmed. This is bad news, friends, because she was just baiting him. Her counterattack narrowly misses him, but that was just the setup. She was actually targeting the poor Vikings standing right behind him. Talk about a low blow, she is using his honor against him. Ragnar instantly throws himself in the way to protect his people. After taking that hit, our legendary warrior is barely clinging to life. Herod mocks him, saying he would be fine if he were selfish. He could have landed a lethal blow if he had ignored them. Ragnar just grins and asks, "Didn't I tell you guys to run?" He is still scolding them. Herod wonders if he has lost it. Suddenly, she senses a massive presence appearing right behind her. Our boy Taiho is back with Bracky channeling Sirius God energy. He refuses to be useless, leaps down and activates his saga. He hurls his axe with the force of a true giant slayer. Herod does not even flinch, punching the axe into tiny pieces. But that was just the bait. Taiho fires his dragon's cannon. Blinding golden energy explodes, flooding the entire battlefield with bright light. The resulting blast was massive enough to literally change the map. Friends scream his name as thick dust swallows the whole area. Moments later, Taiho crawls out looking like a total mess. He is completely drained, gasping that he poured everything into that. He scans the smoke desperately, hoping he at least landed a scratch. Plot twist. Herod steps out of the fog without a scratch. She laughs, telling the kid that he actually managed to surprise her. Now she is going to show him what her full power feels like. Oh great, just the news he wanted to hear right now. Taiho's heart sinks as he realizes she is totally fine. In his head, he is thinking this might be game over. Ragnar stumbles forward, determined to protect our young hero anyway. The others ask if he is really in any condition to fight. But Bracky is not waiting around and charges straight into the fray. Taiho is surprised, but Bracky shouts that he is joining in. Herod turns into a literal giant with a truly terrifying aura. The artist went hard here. She dares them to try their best. Everyone charges in at once, but sadly our hero gets caught. She declares his time is up mockingly, asking if stalling was his only strategy. Glancing over the carnage, she notes that nobody left has the strength to help him. Poor Ragnar is totally out cold and Bracky isn't looking any better. Taiho struggles to break free from her iron-tight grasp. But she just squeezes harder, claiming it's for his own good before slamming him down. Helba rushes toward him, her voice cracking as she screams his name. Cue the classic Void sequence. Every good reincarnation story needs a flashy spiritual awakening moment. Our hero is drifting through a sea of stars and total darkness. He looks around honestly wondering if he finally bit the dust for real. Shu chimed in, assuring him that he wasn't actually dead yet. She points out that if he were a ghost, he wouldn't be overthinking things. Outside, Helba is a total mess, crying and desperately begging him to stay alive. In the void, Taiho spots the blue-haired beauty and calls out to Shu. She confirms it, saying she's just what remains of him inside of Guile. Think of her as a fragment of his soul and his new teacher. Since Guile picked him, she's decided to give him her seal of approval too. She's passing down all of Ares' legendary secrets to our boy. His mission: collect every piece of Guile to find his true path. Find her, master, she says, while Helba works overtime to save Taiho's life. She nibbles a golden apple and feeds it to him, praying for a miracle. Taiho blinks his eyes open only for Herod to step up and close them. Herod grumbles that they've already burned through way too much time. She barks an order. Snag that seed and let's get moving already. Leaving a battered Ragnar behind, she reaches for the prize, but Taiho slowly stands up. Helba pleads with him to stay down because one wrong move right now, and it's game over. She just can't bear to lose her favorite person. He's not leaving Ragnar behind, and he definitely doesn't plan on dying either. With a grin, he promises to return, then lunges at Herod with his dagger. She just laughs, mocking his efforts while swinging a fist that packs serious heat. Their attacks collide, sending massive shockwaves rippling across the entire battlefield. Taiho pours everything into the strike, but the sheer force sends him flying. Herod celebrates her victory, but wait, her hand is suddenly turning to solid stone. Before it spreads, she ruthlessly hacks off her own hand and glares at Taiho. "What on earth are you?" she snarls as Taiho struggles to his feet. Right across him. Herod is absolutely fuming, wreathed in chaotic flames. How did this weakling touch her? The creepy purple voice echoes, ordering Herod to retreat. Herod refuses. She's convinced Taiho is an even bigger threat than legendary Ragnar. Taiho grits his teeth clearly at his limit, but the stubborn guy won't quit. Taiho's thinking, okay, now I am officially in big trouble. She is not leaving, and he can barely stand, let alone fight anymore. Then the purple entity boosts her power, and her severed arm instantly regenerates. She flexes her new fingers and tells Taiho to prepare for round 2. Helba and Sir step up, promising that he won't be fighting alone. Taiho gives thanks while Herod's rage meter hits max for her next attack. She chirps that this is exactly what she wanted. Taiho and the gang rush in now. Taiho grumbles that the heat is unbearable. His body feels heavy and simply won't move. Harad targets him first, lunging forward to wipe him out for good. But before she strikes a bolt of blue lightning, tears the battlefield apart. Thor arrives to save the day. He politely apologizes to Taiho for being late. Our main character wonders, how does this guy know my name already? Thor says to save the shock for later. First, they must break this domain. His plan is simple. He summons a massive tornado. Ciri and Hela sigh in relief as the suffocating domain finally vanishes. Thor warns everyone to stay back. The battle is about to get messy. He hurls his hammer at Harad, sending her flying high into the clouds. Wrapped in crackling lightning, he hitches a ride on his hammer to chase her. He blasts her with lightning. As she falls, everyone starts chanting his name. Ragnar yells for everyone to stay back. Getting caught in this means death. Taiho looks worried and asks Hela if Thor can actually win this fight. She reassures him that with Thor here, there is nothing to worry about. But he still worries knowing enemies as strong as Harad are out there. He knows that to protect Hela, he must level up much faster. Meanwhile, Thor is winning. Harad wonders how he even found this place. But Thor is not talking. He charges, but she escapes into a smoke bomb. Thor searches around while Herod asks Avalt if this was his doing. He nods, saying she cannot win yet. He will hide her escape with shadows. She hates that idea. Harad emerges, declaring she is the giant of strength. She will not run from battle or die like a total coward. Then she challenges Thor to hit her with his best shot. Thor recalls his hammer charges his lightning, and they clash once again. A golden light fills the air as the dust from the impact clears. Harad is on her knees, while our Thunderboy has 0 scratches. He lands and gives a friendly reminder to like the video today. Help Mamoru create juicy content and click that cheeky little bell. And I am out.